up, y'all? Kofi Kingston here, and I would love to have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks, depending on what that drink is, preferably non-alcoholic, you know?
How's it going? Celtic Warrior Shane.
Soda.
I would love to have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks.
Maple syrup.
Fella.
I would never have a drink with Wrestling on the Rocks.
So, like,
I think
we're live. Guys, welcome
Hello.
to Wrestling on the Rocks, where every show is our first show. I am at Ref Marsh. We are at WOTR The Show, and with me today, as per the new norm, as we say nowadays, the new norm, and dive bar of the IWC, that means the new regular.
I thought you meant Norm from Cheers.
That's what I said. Yeah, that's what I meant, because a dive bar, Norm from Cheers. Yeah. We're good. Guys, welcome back to the other half of the Ironics, Kevlar.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah. And with him, beside him, as per always, we got the sports beard. Go ahead and say what's up.
what's going on?
Ooh. Let's get right to drinking, because it feels like that kind of a day.
Oh,
Guys,
does it?
A little bit feels like I need a drink. Let's start with what are you drinking? We'll start with Kevlar. Kevlar, what's in your glass there?
I'm drinking the cacti agave spiked seltzers.
Yeah, I got a chance
Very
to try
good.
those the other day. Very good. Very good.
Oh, is that good? Yeah.
Yeah, they're nice. I liked because it sounded genuine, but there was part of your tone that sounded really disingenuous. Oh, is that good? Yeah, I bet. Like,
I am so afraid of like the Boone's Farm. It's like these White Claw things. They're just awful. Like I just.
Oh, well, these ones aren't like overly sweet.
Yeah.
That's true.
White Claws are, woo. You
White
get
Claws can be a
diabetes
bit
drinking
sweet.
those things.
Yeah.
It can be.
Yeah. I'm drinking water, guys. Today I was gonna get a Greyhound, but we just ran out of time, so I'm gonna go without. So.
All right, man. If you need to run and grab a drink at some point, you just go ahead and do that. I'm just gonna
take
have
a break.
Yeah, take a break. Have an intermission. I'm just having the old Coors Light. I'm having it in my new Seth Rollins beer mug. I'm excited about this. Seth freaking Rollins.
Does it say he sucks on the bottom of the glass? Like, I thought maybe you might have his catchphrase or something. Sorry. I'm sure.
They came out with one of those Kurt Angle coffee mugs that said "You suck" on the bottom of it.
That's awesome. That is so awesome.
That's true. That was a good
That
mug.
is so
That was
cool.
a good mug. Before we get into a bunch of the new stuff in the news, something that came up that we didn't really get to talk about because it happened after we got off the air last week, but at the same time is mostly NXT talent that was affected. So I imagine there's a lot of names that wouldn't really resonate with either one of you, which is why I didn't feel so bad. But a couple of the names that did get released this past week, I want to give you guys the chance to say what you'd like about it, that you probably would know. Well, I mean, Kev, you'd know Ember Moon for sure because she was there, but went back to NXT. I'll run the whole list, but I'll tell you the ones I felt like you'd know. But Frankie Monet,
Can I say who as the
What?
rookie? Sorry, Ref Marsh. As the guy coming back, I noted Keith Lee. I thought that was weird. Didn't he show up on SmackDown?
I think that what we'll do is I'll finish my
you go.
sentence and then we'll pitch to you. So the list that was everyone who got let go. We do have Frankie Monet, Ember Moon, Jessie Kamea, Katrina Cortez, and Frankie Monet was only there for a short period of time. She only had 6 matches on all of NXT, but she was formerly Taya Valkyrie. Jeet Rama, Oni Lorcan, Trey Baxter, Zayda Ramir, Scarlett, who never made her main roster debut, B-Fab, who just showed up with Hit Row on SmackDown like twice, and then this SmackDown we saw Hit Row without B-Fab. Grand Metalik, Lince Dorado, the Lucha House Party, which I don't think the Sports Beard would have seen at all because they haven't been on TV in a few months, and the last couple times they were was real brief, or even the NXT. They did a couple things in NXT during pandemic, and then Karrion Kross, Harry Smith, who didn't even get to make a TV debut, Nia Jax, Eva Marie, and then Keith Lee and Mia Yim. And Mia Yim's a real bummer too because they just drafted her as Mia Yim, which was the first thing we'd seen of her since she was reckoning with Retribution, and real bummer. So we'll start with Sports Beard. You said Keith Lee really threw you for a loop on that one?
Well, I mean, why they drafted him, correct? I mean, it looked like they were going to put him on the like, why draft him if you're going to release him like a month later? It didn't make any sense to me. He was drafted from NXT, former NXT champion, from what I understand. Yep. He changes his name to Bearcat, which is like a homage to an old wrestler. It sounded like that was a guy they wanted to keep in the thing, and I saw his. I saw his statement. I think I was gonna I'm gonna actually bookmarked it. I don't know. It just felt like kind of weird to have him drafted and then cut him, like, you know. Yeah,
for sure. So a few of these were recently drafted. Like I said, Mia Yim. Even Karrion Kross was drafted. B-Fab was just drafted up from NXT. So a couple. I did see one comment that I thought was some bullshit, though. People are like, why even have the draft when you have these releases that destroy the whole thing? There's 3 names on this. 3 names were actually drafted. You know what I mean? Like, relax. The whole draft wasn't fucked up. It was like 3 people. Now, I'll say this before we go to Kev and see what he thinks about all of it. The only rumor I've heard really about any of it that's made any of this make sense, because I will say a lot of it does not make sense. Some of it doesn't feel so hard to believe, but you have names like Nia Jax, who've been an institution in WWE for quite some time. And like you said, Keith Lee just drafted, Mia Yim just drafted over. Karrion Kross was getting the TV time, whether or not everyone was clicking with it or not. Hit Row, they haven't even had a chance to get their feet wet enough to know if it's working or not working. And only one member of Hit Row. The thing that people have been saying, and the thing that Nia Jax alluded to in her comment, was that vaccination status may have played a role in at least some of these, which would make sense. It wouldn't make sense to me for Keith Lee and Mia Yim just because of the amount they spoke out on behalf of like COVID precautions, and Keith Lee having that chronicle where he talked about losing a few members to COVID, and him even coming out and saying he got COVID. I can't imagine that he would have avoided it or anything like that. But there's a few names on here that do ring that it could very well be possible that vaccination status played a role that would make sense. But at the same time, it's not always going to make sense.
I've got something specifically on that from the reporter. And I'm sorry I didn't get his name, but it says there were several of the people, I don't know the name specifically, it was probably a half a dozen or more, that did not get vaxxed that got cut. It was very much part of the reason. They were never told anyone to get vaccinated, as far as I know, but I'd asked, we were told that you needed to get vaccinated, and it was like, no, but it was understood that they wanted you to, absolutely, but nobody was actually told to get vaccinated. But it did sound like
that was definitely a Meltzer.
Maybe there was some of the reasons behind.
You could tell by the way that trailed off in weird directions and had a lot of start stops. That's definitely Meltzer who said that. But yeah, and I think that it also makes sense from a company standpoint. If you have, if all of New York venues require vaccination status, then that means if you've already said that SummerSlam's going to be in Brooklyn and you've already said you're going to do an MSG show sometime next year, then how the fuck are you supposed to book a creative television show that's live week to week and then go, okay, but it can't have a blow off at SummerSlam? Okay, but they can't be in these ones. Like, you're going to have to start checking venues with who you're allowed to bring in on what storylines you can tell. Bottom line, it's a fucking casting call. Kev, what do you think about all of it?
Yeah, I mean, there are names on there that I'm upset to see go, and if it is the vaccination thing, then, I mean, you can't have talent that is part-time that you want to book full-time. And, I just wish them the best. It sucks. I was a big fan of Ember Moon. I wanted to see her have success on the like the main shows and stuff like that. But yeah, and Cross, they were giving plenty of TV time to. Keith Lee has been in and out the last year or so, but it always seemed like he was getting a big push when he was healthy or, in the storyline. So, and I would imagine, Mia Yim gets released because Keith Lee or vice versa. Kind of like Cross and Scarlett.
I mean, I guess that's possible, but I would think that that's not always the case, right? Like, definitely couples split up and end up in different, like, I mean, they let go Aleister Black while they were bringing in Zelina, but I don't know. I think that, I mean, it's possible, and it's also possible in the realm that, like, this really feels like they're cleaning house from the NXT talent that was brought in when they were trying to pick up the indie darlings and the indie stars. Like, it's almost felt like they're flushing the system of the indie wrestling scene that they had that was so strong in NXT, even the ones that came over. And I do think that, because if you remember, Scarlett was signed to NXT several months before Cross was, and I believe Mia Yim was the same thing, signed before Keith Lee. And I think rumors at the time was that part of the reason, not the entire reason by any means, they're both very skilled, but part of the reason was to almost lock in that they'd be able to get the guys associated with them as well. Yeah.
I didn't realize that Mia Yim and Keith Lee were together before. I thought they met in the NXT.
They met on the indies from my understanding, but I guess, I mean, I don't know them, and let's not pretend that we know them on that level. But that's what I believed, and I could be way wrong, and if I am, I apologize. But, you know, it is what it is. What do you got, sports people?
But yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say I read that too, that Eva was maybe released for I mean, not that she was considered a great wrestler or anything. There were probably a myriad of reasons, but one of the things I read about her specifically was she was released maybe for seeking out acting work, kind of like on the side. And I guess that's considered a no-no or whatever. I wanted to ask a little bit about that kind of.
She's currently on a film set. 4 days ago, she posted a picture of herself on a film set.
So she got a job, apparently.
But she got him when she was in, and she got him before she came in. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't know that I buy that. And I think people I think people believe what they want to believe about these contracts. And if there's one thing we've stated on here 100 times is I don't understand contracts. And unless you see the contract, you don't know what's in the contract. But there's always speculation about the contracts. But I mean, Daniel Bryan came out and said in an interview just the other day, or maybe it was yesterday or today, that the interviewer asked him directly how long his AEW contract was for, and he said it was 3 years. And then they asked him directly, are you allowed to wrestle in NJPW or in Japan? And he said, yes, as long as the company approves it. And he says, but to be clear, WWE offered him the same exact thing if he resigned. There was no difference there. And I think a lot of people would not expect that, because the belief with WWE is they just let him walk away because they wouldn't let him wrestle in Japan. And he's saying, no, they would. There's a lot of stuff in there that people don't consider. The amount of stuff that Xavier Woods has done outside of WWE, the G4 stuff. Like,
yeah, I wanted to bring that up, actually. I'm glad you brought that up. Because I watched something about his up down down like streaming thing that he did, gaming streaming thing, which I guess was pretty popular, but I know it's not on Twitch. And he said that the WWE owns that, and he hopes at some point they'll let him go to Twitch, because I know he's worked pretty hard on the gaming thing. But I mean, it sounds like it's kind of par for the course for the WWE not to allow too much. Again, they're spending their money to promote a lot of these guys and stuff like that. So they have platforms that are paid for by the WWE. I guess I understand that. I'm not trying to get into the weeds of all the contracts or anything. If it helps grow your brand and it doesn't cost you anything, I don't understand why the WWE wouldn't allow their wrestlers to do it. Unless it's gonna, like, I get Japan being kind of a thing, but like letting a wrestler stream on Twitch, I think is all that's going to do is help build your brand. Yes, they can monetize it and make money off of it. And I know there comes a point where it feels like the WWE made money. They're up, right? Their numbers, their stock numbers are going up, and they released like a record number of wrestlers in the last 6 months. So I don't know, like, they're making money. So I don't know. No one's crying poverty for the WWE. I did read that the ratings were really low for Raw, like not an all-time low, but like really close. But it was still like the 6th highest cable rated show.
Yeah, and it was still rated higher than AEW. Just for perspective's sake, that the worst WWE is still better than the best AEW. And I only say that not to shit on AEW, but to say that how we word things in those wrestling presses or journalist sites is really biased. And yes, it could be the worst Raw ever. But if you're trying to say that AEW is the healthiest and the most successful and is just coming out firing on all cylinders and their ratings are impeccable, then you have to acknowledge that maybe the worst isn't the worst. You know what I mean? If one company doing less than is better than one company doing the worse than, which is better than, is still fucking good. So it seems like a non-argument to me. But go ahead, Kevin.
Well, it helps when the CEO is begging for viewers on Twitter.
That was so funny. I'll read those real quick.
This is AEW.
Yeah, his own. Yeah, Tony Khan was begging for viewership today, so he puts out a tweet today that said, "Tonight opens a huge week of wrestling. We're hours from the go home Wednesday night AEW Dynamite live coast to coast across America tonight, 8 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 6 p.m., 5 p.m. Literally lists every single time zone." And then goes the final Dynamite before Full Gear on pay-per-view Saturday. I promise great wrestling plus big moments tonight on AEW on TNT. Then an hour later, he sends out another one that says, with hours till Dynamite goes live on tonight on TNT. As a wrestling fan myself, I have a request for you fellow fans. This is a huge week for AEW, and tonight's a great night to try and hook a friend into watching AEW with you. Please considering spreading your love of wrestling today. Please watch the show. Please watch the show, please. Not only watch it, tell your friends they have to watch it.
So I didn't in the information I got about the ratings, they didn't compare it to AEW at all. They compared it to Monday Night Football. But Monday Night Football did a $12.1 million or 12.1 million viewership on Monday. And I just feel like during the football season, things are going to be a little bit harder for wrestling because a lot of the wrestling fans are also football fans. Yeah. And I would also say, as a guy where sports is sort of my background as far as like watching and stuff, the Monday night games have gotten so much better in the last few years than they were even like 10 years ago. Because a lot of times like, I'm not watching. Who cares about that matchup? But they seem like they've made really good matchups. The games have all been really good for the most part. So that really helps. I'm one of the lucky few where I can watch Monday Night Raw. It doesn't really affect me because Monday Night Football comes on at 4:20 in Alaska. So I don't have to mess with, like deciding if I have to record Raw. I can pretty much watch Raw live, which also, I don't know if you realize, I can't look at a lot of the Raw content that's tweeted out until after it's aired in my region anyway. So like they have these things to prevent spoilers or whatever, unless I got a VPN and all this other stuff, which I'm considering doing. But anyway, yeah, like unless it's on FS1, which then they air it like 6 times during the day or whatever. And
we're going to circle back to the topic though. I do think that absolutely that's part of the deal is that it's up against Monday Night Football, and historically every year after year, wrestling struggles during Monday Night Football because it's on Monday nights. However, AEW is not. And when comparing the ratings, you're right. The journalists, quotes, always talk about the ratings that Monday Night Football is doing and how that's relevant, but never what is the industry doing, except when they're talking about AEW. Then they want to compare what it's doing to other wrestling shows that have other hurdles. And I'm just saying that all of that's largely irrelevant to us as fans because we're not buying ad space, and it's an ad.
Well, that's the one thing I would say though, is if the ratings continue to decline, USA, I'm sure, has options to opt out. And I know they're part of the NBC, whatever. So I think that if you're a diehard wrestling fan, you might be concerned that the platform may change to a different channel. Maybe they're like, okay, we're just not going to show this on cable anymore because we're getting more reviews from Law and Order SVU reruns, which I know that's not the case. I'm just saying, like, there are a lot of people that have been surmising the demise of a lot of these. It's not just WWE programming or AEW programming, any kind of television show, because of streaming, right? I mean, like, yes. So I look at it that way.
Kev, what were you going to say? Do you remember?
No, I forgot.
All right, that's cool.
Sorry.
So where did the topic start on that one? Let's see.
Well, we were talking about the ratings,
the releases, and
the releases,
and the ratings. Yeah, I did want to bring up. Did you guys?
Oh, and we were talking about the up, down, down, and such. So I do want to say that as far as up, down, down goes, it is a WWE platform that is run largely by Xavier Woods. And if you go to WWE shop, there is an up, down, down section. Like they sell merch for it too. And a couple of the Xavier Woods figures even come with an up, down, down title and stuff. Like there is those things. Kev, go ahead.
I was just gonna say too, just circling back to the previous subject, but with the Eva Marie,
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times with these releases, they just say, "Hey, they were released."
Mm-hmm.
We don't know if she asked for it. If she said, "Hey, I might have gotten my big break in Hollywood. Like, I want to be let go." Because she's another one where she came in. There was a big, video packages for her return, and then it just flopped. We got Dewdrop out of it, which is nice.
Cool.
But
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
But
on top
you
of
know
that,
what I mean? Like we just don't know. Yeah.
And there's even rumors that the Lucha House Party requested their release, that they wanted to be released and were granted it. I mean, even Lince Dorado, the way he tweeted after he was released, something that said, thank you, more or less for granting this to me. And it felt a lot like someone saying, yes, this is what I was asking for, and finally I got it. So we just don't know. And I think there's a really important aspect of that there's a ton of speculation all the time. One of the narratives that we hear on IWC a lot, Kev, and I think maybe you've started to see it, Sports Beard, that whenever there's a rash of releases, it's always, how could they? This is terrible. Also, like you'd stated before, it's not like WWE is strapped for cash. I do think those two things are largely irrelevant when it comes to staffing and casting. There's even the rumors right now that Vince is looking for women specifically that are under 25 years old, and people are trying to say that that's a violation of human rights or whatever, that you can't discriminate based off of age and sex and things like that. However, that's true for a career path that has tangible qualifications and certificates. It's not true for a casting call. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if you're casting for Lizzie McGuire and it takes place in a middle school, and the idea is that it's a girl with her about the coming of age story of a young girl, you've already said, yeah, you're not dropping your name in the hat, Kev. You're not being like, I think I could pull this one off.
I got this, guys.
Yeah. So I will say that when you look at the list of the names getting let go, it's one thing to say, oh, some of them may have been a little bit older or younger, but they also didn't release literally every woman above 25 years old. Most of the women they have are already over that age, and maybe that's part of the reason they're trying to dip back into the well to have a future generation to rely on. You know what I mean? If all your women are already getting close to 40 and you're just not sure how long they're going to wrestle, because historically in the business, most of the women have not continued to wrestle after that point, maybe you do say, let's get fresh blood in here so that way when these women are ready to go, we don't suffer. And knowing that women's wrestling is so popular, we definitely want to make sure we have more women behind them. It's not like in the Diva era where some of the women would go and be like, yeah, we just want to put on women for a couple weeks, whatever. Women are popular. They're a big entity right now, and you got to be ready for whenever they're ready to leave, because at some point, historically, they probably will.
I agree with that 100%. I think that what I read too was that Vince may be trying to get the NXT younger, and it seemed like they did release a lot of like 30 somethings that were at NXT for a long time. Like, and again, like I understand like the nature of the business, people come and they go, I mean, there's, before the show, we were talking about Bray Wyatt a little bit, but, big names come and big names go, it's just the way it goes. I just think that it makes sense under the auspice that they're trying to get NXT younger, because that's, supposed to help build their roster, which, inevitably is like a minor league system for the WWE. And it's a smart thing to do. And, before the cuts and stuff, we all talked about how Raw needed like the push to like a lot. It felt like they gutted SmackDown a little bit. I think some people felt that way. I mean, I didn't have a huge opinion on it, but it did feel like, like the WWE was putting a lot of effort into SmackDown Raw, because Raw may be the one struggling between the two. And again, it's a lot less people have cable. The economy is not where it once was. You're going to cut things, if you're a wrestling fan, you may only be able to watch SmackDown now because of local, it's a national channel.
Yeah.
So.
And then on top of that, a lot of the people talk about how it's like, oh, this is terrible. This was their dream. How dare you? How could you release this person? They never celebrate these people are free to do what they want to do now. I think that's one aspect. I think the other aspect is the narrative that no one ever is willing to accept is if this truly was everybody's lifelong dream and passion, and that these truly were the best of the best, and that there was no reason to release any of them. Out of the 220 some odd wrestlers that have been released since last year, why have only like 20 or 30 of them ended up back in a wrestling ring? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They're either not that good or not that passionate for the most part. Like, surprisingly, like you wouldn't have guessed it. You know what I mean? Or what if they just, go ahead, Kev.
Like Sarah Logan. Excuse me. She wanted to start a family and everything, so she left. We don't know, like, once again, it's just the we don't know aspect. We don't know, what they're going through in their personal life, if they still have the passion for the business, if they want to try different adventures, we just don't know. So for all these people that go out there and speculate things and, WWE's evil, this and that, like, fuck off. They're a business. And, let them do their things. You may disagree, and that's fine. A lot of my favorite wrestlers have been released. Some of them I've seen come back in the past year or a few years. But, cool. We just don't know. So don't quit jumping to conclusions.
Yeah, and a lot of them haven't jumped back into it. And I think there's also another thing to be young and I mean, when I think about some of the career paths that I had when I was younger too, it was like, yes, this is my passion. I'll do this forever. And then something happens. You don't end up working that anymore. And you go, maybe I have a different passion I can go. I'm doing something now that I wasn't doing a long time ago, but something I always kind of dabbled in. And now I'm at a point where I'm able to do it almost viably. And it's like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, that wouldn't have been the conversation. I would have told you that I was passionate about where I was, that I was in love with the company, that I never wanted to leave it, that I saw myself as a lifer there. And then things happen and I'm no longer with the company, and it goes, well, what next? And then you find a whole new path, and I'm happier now than I was when I was there. And I thought that was it. I remember that previous job I even talking about, the first time I walked in and had my first interview. I remember having this feeling of like, oh, I'm home now. This is where I'm going to be now. Before I even started the interview, I just had that feeling of this is it. This is where I belong. But now when I walk into those kinds of places, or places that are still owned by that company, I walk in and I think this was a nice time, but it's not where I want to be now. You know what I mean? So like you said, we project all those things, or even like Sarah Logan specifically, like you said, she was passionate about wrestling for a number of years. And when she got released, she said, well, maybe now's a good time to start a family and a farm. And now she's starting some sort of fitness program. I think they have a clothing line now. Like, she's found other passions that she delve into that's also totally fine. And not to say that she didn't have a passion for wrestling, but I don't think she does now. And that's totally okay. And people neglect that. You know what I mean?
People's perspectives change, and, just deal with it.
Yeah.
Well, and one thing too, she got the capital because of her wrestling, to do something else. So do you want to hear what Keith Bearcat Lee said?
Sure.
I did have.
Go ahead.
So he said on Twitter, like almost immediately after his release, he said, "Greetings and salutations. This day is my birthday. It's not a happy birthday, but it's also one I'm most grateful for. Several months ago, it was not a guarantee I would make it to this day, so there's positivity in that. I paid all my medical bills from the many offices and machines I frequented. There is positivity in that. And I do find it amusing that people believe anyone but me paid for my medical expenses. I was going to wait a couple weeks, but I think it's time to look forward to the future. Forward march, as I like to say. I'm capable of so much more, and I can't wait to see what it looks like properly. I have a wide array of interests and abilities. I also consider myself to be rather open-minded. Here's to a future that for all intensive purposes seems limitless." So that doesn't seem like someone that's completely like devastated by his release. I think of the releases, that one surprised me. The Nia Jax one didn't surprise me based on our conversations with Ref Marsh and Kev and all these people are saying, well, she wasn't that good a wrestler. She hurt people in the ring and blah, blah, blah. Now, I do want to talk specifically about Nia Jax for one reason and one reason alone.
Can we finish talking about Keith Lee first?
Yeah, because I have some stuff I want to say about the Limitless one.
Yeah, let's finish the Keith Lee conversation you started, and then we'll go straight to Nia from there. So, Kev, what were you going to say about Keith Lee?
Sports Beard said, like, it doesn't seem like he's bitter about it. He's looking to the future, and I think he's somebody that can easily circle back and rejoin WWE.
Yes.
You know, Drew is, you know, like one of the bigger examples of that now. Yes. He got fired. He used it as motivation, and he came back a douchebag.
And Jinder.
Hopefully Keith Lee and Jinder, yeah. You know, and hopefully Keith Lee comes back if that's what he wants. You know, it sounds like he, you know, has the passion. He's loved wrestling and stuff like that. So, you know, instead of focusing on the negative, Keith Lee's always been, you know, positive and stuff like that. You know, when you see his behind the curtain type of things, and, you know, hopefully he uses this as motivation, and, you know, hopefully he comes back and, you know, is better than before.
Yeah, 100%. And something I was noticing in that too is that he says that he finds it amusing that people would assume that anyone but him was paying his medical bills. I think that's kind of a strange shot to take, because the narrative we've heard from every wrestler who's talked about it once they're in the WWE line, that the company has paid for everyone's medical and everyone's rehabs and things like that, largely and mostly, but especially injuries, and this is clearly not an injury. But it's just one of those things where it's all like, oh, you could have also not been pretentious about saying, in this case, I covered my own medical bills, because it's not like it's out of nowhere. It's not like everyone just said, well, clearly Keith Lee would never be willing to pay his own medical bills. People just assumed because he's under the WWE umbrella and the WWE medical discovered a thing that perhaps WWE was covering the medical bills, because we've heard a lot of narratives from wrestlers who say that that's what the company did for them. So it's like, I don't know why he was being a bit like snooty about that. It's like, dude, that one wasn't people talking out of their ass. That's people just basing it off of what we've heard from other people. Like, it just seemed like a weird way to come about that, right?
Yeah. Well, and
or maybe
once
it's just
again,
the way he talks.
Yeah. But once again, we don't understand contracts, and maybe he was, you know, his contract, he was listed as instead of as an employee, as a, you know, like a contractor or whatever.
Well, they're
you know
all
what I mean?
contractors, but yeah.
Oh yeah, but, you know, somebody that their medical wasn't directly paid for by WWE or whatever.
Yeah,
but
or maybe it's the kind of thing where they reimburse him later and he has no idea it's coming, or I don't know. Who knows? But you're right. It does sound like he's not. It didn't sound like he was thrilled about it, but also sounds like he doesn't feel like that's the end of his life. You know what I mean? And I think it's at least another aspect from it. All right. So, Sports Beard. Anything else you have to say about Keith Lee? If not, go ahead and tell us what you had to say about Nia.
I didn't know what was wrong with his medical issue. I didn't know his medical stuff. Like, I didn't know any of the backstory.
It was a heart thing.
Yeah. I mean, he's a big man, so that makes sense. That, which I don't know. Did you see the rumors that Triple H may be done competing in ring too because of his thing? I saw that. I don't know how much that's substantiated, but through the wrestling rumor mill, it sounded like that could be a thing. So
I didn't see that, but it's not a total surprise if that's true. We've been thinking for a while. Every year Triple H does wrestle, everyone says this is the last time. So it wouldn't be it wouldn't be a shock if you kind of like the Undertaker, yeah.
Well, and it sounds like that might be the same case with Edge too, that he may not be back. Like that if he does wrestle again at late 2022 or 2023, it sounded like I know his coming back was just this last year, and that was kind of not expected to ever happen. So, but
was there an interview with him or something? Or
no, it just sounded like there was some scuttlebutt that because he hasn't been back in any way, shape, or form, and they haven't done anything with the Seth Rollins thing. It's like they've moved on from that storyline completely, which I know that those things happen. But that
the storyline went for like 6 months. Of course they're going to move on. Like, he's got to get in something else.
Oh no, I you know, my whole thing is it wouldn't surprise me if he's done, because he was done for quite some time, right? I mean, he didn't wrestle for like 8 years or something. So
I do feel like whatever this run is, he's got something in mind. I don't think it's indefinite, but I don't feel like there's no room for it to do something else. I feel like that he's definitely done with the Seth Rollins story, and that was played out perfectly. His Randy Orton story went so well that I don't know what he would do next, but I feel like that I wouldn't be surprised if he had another idea of the next storyline he wants to do. But I guess I wouldn't also be surprised if he doesn't say, you know what, those back-to-backs were good enough. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up on that, because I know that the whole goal of this run of his was to end his career on his terms, because he had it taken away from him before. He talked about it in an interview. It might have even been on After the Bell. So I guess I wouldn't be shocked, but I guess I wouldn't be shocked either way with it. Kev?
But see, I don't think that his last match with Seth, to me, it didn't feel like a retirement match.
No.
But if it was, because that was the one at MSG, right?
No, it was on Crown Jewel. The Hell in a Cell.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was a nice one.
It was good.
It was a nice match. Like, if that is the end, I don't know. I want him to go out in Canada.
Ooh, that'd be nice. One more run that ends in Canada. If he's only got like, who do you want to end his career? If he's going to have a retirement match where he lays down for somebody else, who do you want it to be?
I mean, Seth seems like the perfect candidate. So, like, if this was it, then all right, cool. But to me, I think the stakes should have been higher.
You want him to lose his final match? Is that a tradition?
Well, that's like the. Not many guys go out winning.
Yeah. It's rare, if ever.
Yeah.
No. It's a very, very unlikely thing. You almost always, because the idea, the history of it, the tradition goes all the way back to the territories, where if you were leaving a territory, you would leave it on your back because you were putting over the next star. Because the idea being that if you were the top star in that territory and you leave it, you need to leave the territory better than it was when you got there. And so you need to be basically handing over the territory to somebody and basically telling the fans, this guy's better than me. He's the one. And so everyone
goes,
out
on your shield.
Yeah, go out on your shield. Yeah, keep coming back. All those things. So that's why it's tradition. So it's like nice. It's kind of like what we said about, we were talking about a little before with Bray. It was really kind of funny. So Sportsfeed was watching the Sam Roberts YouTube video. If you go to Not Sam Wrestling on YouTube, you can find it. He did a retrospective of Bray Wyatt's career. And I had him watch it so we could understand a little bit of it. And the two big takeaways that he said right away is that he wished that Bray won against Cena and that Bray won against Undertaker. And I was like, we all do. But that was one of the things we all thought, was that ultimately we thought Undertaker was going to lose to Bray during that run, when Bray was saying he's the new face of fear. And we thought that, oh, this is how Undertaker retires. He retires losing to Bray, and Bray becomes the new evil. And it just didn't play out that way.
Don't you feel like that's missing from their stable now too? Because they don't have it. I mean, the Demon, if he comes out and does it, but there really isn't anything that's fearful. There's no fear-based character. There's no immovable object. There's no world eater or whatever.
It's funny because you say that. I was thinking Karrion Kross was going to fill that, and I thought Keith Lee was going to be the immovable object. I honestly thought those two dudes were going to take place of those two missing holes in the roster. And you're right. They're gone, and there's still those holes. Although Seth Rollins ripped out an eyeball one time. That was cool. So that's scary. What were you going to say about Nia Jax and her release?
Yeah, it bothered me because she took a break for mental health and asked for more time. And it sounds like if you do it once, they're fine. Like you're buried for it. And if you do it a second time, you're done. So I don't know. Like, to me, it just felt like in this day and age where we're putting so much emphasis on mental health and that's more important than anything. And as someone that struggles with those things and completely appreciates a business or a company that will go out of their way to help a person out. Now, I don't know any of the behind the scenes. I'm just saying, if that is one of the reasons, I think it sends a bad message to wrestlers that are going through a difficult time to say, hey, I have to take a break because I'm an alcoholic or a drug addict or whatever. I mean, look, that sports entertainment is riddled with that. We just talked about John Moxley, aka Dean Ambrose, last week, and him going to get help. That guy I know has been in the business a long time. I'm sure he didn't just develop a drug and alcohol problem when he moved over to AEW. So,
but see, I think you took the bait on that one.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I didn't take the bait. I'm just saying, like, it's out there that she asked for more time for mental health, and they released her. Now, it could be because she's not vaccinated. It could be because she's a pain in the ass behind scenes. It could be because she's hurt other wrestlers. I understand that, guys. I get that. I get that there is a ton of other reasons why she is not employed by the WWE anymore. I'm not trying to make any conjectures about what those reasons are. I'm saying the fact that she came out and said she asked for time off for mental health reasons, and then they let her go. That's what's out there. Now, she could be playing a game. That's bad too, because that's bad for people to have mental health reasons saying, if you're a wrestler going, well, I don't know, because you have, WWE, they don't want you to take time off for mental health. I get it. So again, I'm just saying, like, if that is truly the case, that is bad.
But see, this is why I'm saying you took the bait, because, like, what was it, 2 years ago? Sasha Banks left.
Yeah. And
she went on this hiatus. And, it was mental health. She said, I need to find myself. I need to, get back to me and stuff like that. And she was gone for, like, 6-7 months, if not longer.
It was longer, and it was a consistent thing. It was a consistent, I need more time. She talked about it. She talked about how she was supposed to come back and said, I just can't. She went and trained in Japan for a while just to in her mind and in her heart to remember to, like, re-fall in love with it all again. And that's where all to relight that fire. I forget who else. There was someone else who took time off for a similar thing and got it extended too. I mean, it sucks to say, as someone who has struggled with mental health my entire life, that it really didn't sit well with me the way that Nia mentioned it. The way that it came out did not feel like, it didn't feel genuine. It felt an awful lot like Nia Jax was getting ran through the mud online because the rumor was that she was unvaccinated and that's why she got let go. And that while the internet was going wild just saying, well, fuck her then, left and right, that she came out to rebuild her character, and not like her character on TV, but like her perception, her reputation, by saying, well, if I make myself a mental health hero, then it'll fix all that. And it did. A lot of people went, oh, look, she's a hero. She had mental health and they let her go. How could they? But it didn't feel genuine. The idea that she said, well, they didn't talk about my vaccination status when they fired me. The fact that I wanted an extension. I don't know that it didn't feel like it came from a genuine place to me. It felt to me like it was a PR move. Like, okay, I'll say mental health and then people will forget about all the other stuff and they'll just say that the company was wrong. And I that's how it felt like to me. As someone who struggled with it and just reading the words of it, I was like, I don't buy this. If it's true, it sucks. But if it's not true, then like you said, it also sucks. Like, you know what I mean? It just sucks on different sides of the coin.
Well, let me just say this. If I'm the WWE and that is not the case, then I'm coming out and saying that's not the case. Because I don't want the perception that we're releasing somebody because they had mental health issues, because that is a bad look. So
that's a lose-lose situation for WWE. WWE has no win there. If they come out and say that, then it's them making a PR move. If they don't say it, then it's them just letting the chips fall where they may. They're in a lose-lose. People still shit on them for putting their people through rehab.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought it was a bad look for the WWE.
For sure, and that was her goal. But that's the whole point, is what I'm saying, is that even when WWE does a good thing, people shit on it. When WWE puts their people through rehab, people say, well, that's a PR move. When Vince McMahon...
Was it Jay?
Oh, Jay and Jimmy Uso, the Jeff
Jimmy,
Hardy
that's
thing.
what I meant.
They've put X-Pac through rehab like half a dozen times, whether he was in the company or not. And people say, yeah, they do it for PR, but they don't fucking advertise it. They don't do the PR. He's come out in interviews and mentioned it when he's seen them get dragged. So it's one of those things where they're in a lose-lose situation, because if they do something and say it, then people say, well, they only did it for the wrong reasons. And if they do something and don't say it, then people say that they wanted the information leaked for the wrong reasons. There's a no-win for them as a company right now in that regard.
Yeah. And especially with the reason Nia may or may not have been released, we don't know, but WWE never indulges that information.
Yeah.
And if it is for her being unvaccinated, like, that's a hot topic right now. Like, how many people are going to be like, well, I'm boycotting WWE because they don't support people that are unvaccinated?
Oh, yeah. I totally understand why they're staying away from the vaccination status. And, honestly, we've talked about this a little bit. The sports world is a crossover, too, because there's I see a lot of comments about Kyrie, the NBA, blah, blah, blah. The NBA did not mandate vaccinations for their players. But the state that Kyrie Irving plays basketball in, the state of New York, if you are a athlete or performer, you need to be vaccinated for these indoor venues. They have a big thing, because the NFL didn't mandate a vaccination for their players. They did say, if you don't get vaccinated, you're going to have to do this, yada, yada, yada. I'm just saying, the WWE was probably like, we don't want the headache, because every state is going to be a little bit different. Obviously, the southeast of America, the vaccination status is not a problem. And when you get into the northwest and north southwest and northeast of America, it does seem like those parts, depending on the state, it's a little different. I mean, I know it's so polarizing now with the vaccination status. So I 100% understand not touching the vaccination thing. I would just say, if I'm WWE PR, I'm like, yeah, we didn't release Nia Jax because she asked for extended mental health. That was not the case. But if you guys say you've been fans of it more, that they never comment on any of these releases ever, then sure. I that makes sense that they would just go par for the course with anybody else, unless it was a much more, again, I don't think it.
Well,
all they ever say is budget cuts, because they're trying to protect both parties. They you know what I mean? They don't want, if they let someone go because they were being a piece of shit, they don't say, well, that guy was a dickhead. You know what I mean? They've never released someone and then said they did this or that. It's always just said budget cuts. That's all they ever say. It protects both parties. Go ahead, Kev.
I was going to say, look at Enzo and Cass.
Yeah.
Enzo was accused of rape. Cass was beating Carmella? Allegedly,
there was rumors that there was physicality there, and that he was a problem with drug and alcohol and wouldn't get the help.
Yeah, and they just released him, and they didn't say why. They didn't do anything, and I think a lot of it too is, like Marsh said, they're protecting both sides of the coin, and they don't want to completely shit on a talent, because in the future they may come back.
Yeah.
No, I get that. And you also know, too, they could be sued for libel if it's not true, right? So, or proven to be not true. So I just
I guess there's the whole Warrior thing didn't really land well. Then they made that one documentary, The Self-Destruction of the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that. Is that a good watch?
It is an interesting watch. They'd made a documentary at one point when the Ultimate Warrior had left the company, and it was called The Self-Destruction of Ultimate Warrior, and it was a hit piece on how much everybody hated him, how terrible he was at everything. And
he refused to work, and
it was all that stuff. And then a couple years later, they put out one called Always Believe about Ultimate Warrior, and it was about how great he was, how inspirational he was, and all this stuff, because the idea was that they put out this thing because they're like, fuck that guy, he's a total dick. He was trying to sue them left and right for all sorts of crazy shit. And there's a ton of documentaries and podcasts all about Ultimate Warrior and the wildness that was his life and mentality all the way up until the end. But it didn't really sit well with a lot of people, even people who didn't like Warrior. Even people who didn't like it watched that and were still like, what the fuck, guys?
Yeah.
So, I think that it's a hands-off thing. We let people go, and we just say, hey, we let them go. It's a budget cut, because it's the only thing that you can say that means nothing.
Yeah, and once again, if WWE is the villain here for letting all these people go, once again, it's a talking point, and we're talking about it, and that's what WWE wants to be talked about.
Yeah,
what is it? No press is bad press.
Yeah. But yeah, it's one of those things where I think, I don't know. What did you have next? Sports Beard.
I just don't know.
I was gonna talk about Survivor Series. Was kind of weird. They put it out on Twitter. They didn't do anything in the week. This is the last pay-per-view of the year, and it's what is it next week?
2 weeks. I think.
2 weeks.
I know that they're gonna build some of that up.
Sunday.
It felt kind of discombobulated the way they did it. Anyway, I thought that didn't make any sense that they had nothing in the shows until this week. So I don't know. Anyway.
All right. Let's start with that then. Kev, what did you think about the WWE announcing their Survivor Series teams on Twitter before ever announcing anything about it on the shows?
I fucking hated it.
Yeah, I agree.
Let me be frank real quick. I just, I'm not on Twitter, and I'm a big wrestling fan. So to me, there's a lot of people that aren't on Twitter, and you're like, I don't know how to phrase it, but you're only looking at a part of your demographic.
Kev, can I interject?
Like
Can I?
Yeah.
You feel like they're alienating the part of their fan base that's not on social media.
Yeah, basically, yeah. They're only targeting so many, or a certain percentage of their things. And yes, Twitter's popular. There's a lot of people on Twitter, whatever. But either way, like, I'm not following people on Twitter or WWE on Twitter to find out who the Survivor Series team is going to be. In years past, they had matches to, earn your spot. And I think since they're limited on time right now because of Crown Jewel and, other things, the draft, I think they could have handled it a little bit better.
Yeah, they should have done something on TV for sure.
Yeah, even if they just said, "Hey, this is our team," and then even this week on Raw, where the whole Dominic and Bobby Lashley thing happened, it felt that whole segment felt so stupid because it's like, "Hey, I made a mistake when I tweeted this." Well, if you made a mistake on TV, it would have meant more, I think.
Well, and let me say this too, not to disparage Adam Pearce or anything, but isn't he also the freaking general manager of SmackDown? So how, I don't understand how, I want Raw to win. Oh, are we back to where you're just on Raw and you're on SmackDown? They didn't explain that at all. That didn't make any sense. I mean, I don't have anything bad to say about Adam Pearce. Thin skin.
Yeah. But he wears too tight of pants. That's about it. But I the last few years, I hate the way Survivor Series is. I hate champions versus champions. I hate brand versus brand. To me, it doesn't mean shit. It's especially now that this is the last pay-per-view this year because they canceled TLC is normally in December. I hate that this is the last pay-per-view because to me, this is becoming one of the worst pay-per-views.
And zero build-up.
Yeah, I hate the format. There's nothing that anyone's fighting for. If I was a heel, like Happy Corbin, hey, I'm on the team. What am I fighting for? I don't know. I'm just going to get counted out because I don't want to fight and leave.
Seth did that last year. But
who did it? Oh, Seth did. Yeah.
Yeah. Seth sacrificed himself for the greater good, which didn't make any fucking sense, but he did it. He just sits in there, lets them fucking pin him, and then he's like, all right, that was for the greater good. And the greater good of what?
No, he was in shock that he was going to be a dad.
That's true. Now, here's what I'll say about it. Because I think your sentiments echoed by Sportsbeard sentiments have been echoed by a lot of other people, and I'm going to tell you my stance on it. I'm going to tell you right where I stand. I fucking loved it. And I'll tell you why I loved it, Kev.
Because you're addicted to fucking Twitter.
Because Twitter's so cool. No, because For too long, for too many years, this show has meant very little in the form of stakes. Now I'm going to table that and I'm going to come back to it because I have something to say about what I think Survivor Series is good for. But before we get there, I've thought for too long it's been a show that is just brand versus brand and champion versus champion. And when you know that's going into it, when they would do 3 or 4 weeks of building the team and then you have the team just ready to go the day before, the Friday before, you're just suddenly, this is our team now. I'd rather have just an announcement of these are the teams we have because it's the teams we have. And now you have several weeks where you can toy with that, where you can do these tweaks. You can have Dominic versus Bobby. You can turn a little bit of story into what you already have instead of wasting Raw after SmackDown of qualifying matches for a thing that barely matters.
Well, and I agree with that, but it should, like what Sports Beer said, it should have been on TV. Announce, hey, we're gonna
just announce it on TV.
Yeah, just announce it. You'd get the crowd reaction of, oh, this guy made the team, this guy made the team, whatever. Then you can play with it, and I'm okay with that.
I don't need a 20-minute segment of them doing a mini draft for the team. I have liked it in the past where they had like the team captain pick the team. That's always been okay.
Yeah,
but
the thing is that you don't even, like I said, it's not even 20-minute segment. Do it like they do the fucking Hall of Fame. Fucking right before commercial break, put a little video package, and just a video package. KO made the team. Show a couple 30-second highlight reel of what he's done, and boom, he's on the team.
Yeah.
Or have some continually storyline that helps build that pay-per-view for me. Like if I'm going to be invested in it, there has to be something that brings me to it. Why am I watching this? If it's meaningless, and I feel like they kind of look it up. I'll just say this. I'll defend social media. I'm on Twitter. I love Twitter. I took a break from Twitter, but I've been on Twitter since 2009. The Sports Beard hasn't been on Twitter since 2009, but my original Twitter was. So I don't mind Twitter because it's like you can follow what you want to follow, and you can just not follow the crap you don't want to follow. But I'm not really on any, I'm on Instagram and stuff, but I don't really have any other social media. Like I'm not on Facebook or any of that. So I understand. But like, for me, it's like build a story that makes me care about Survivor Series. I cared about SummerSlam because there were stories going into it. I think that isn't that why you go watch the pay-per-views? Right. That's why I was into it. And back in the day is like, oh, you want to see Stone Cold fight Rock, or you want to see Finn Balor versus as the Demon versus, Roman Reigns. Like you want to see the outcomes of those things. Like for me, I might skip Survivor Series to work on the ice rink. Because if you didn't know, guys, I had to put, it's like 20 degrees here now. So it's cold. It's all cold. But
so here's what I think Survivor Series is good for. Because I agree with you. It's virtually storyless as a pay-per-view and has been for years. Even back when they said they were doing it for bragging rights, they never bragged about it. So it was one of those things where they were building up towards bragging rights and then you never heard about it again. So it was like, you would hope that for a year they'd be walking around with some sort of, at least one character talking about, the captain, talking about how he led them to victory or some shit. But it never was like that. These bragging rights were for nothing. Here's what I think it's good for. A year or two ago, if me and Sportsbeard lived in the same town and I knew he wasn't watching wrestling at all, I'd invite him over for Survivor Series before I would invite him over for any other pay-per-view, because it's the most casual Rumble. Fan. Nope, not even Rumble, because Rumble's got a ton of stories building into it. What you're seeing with Survivor Series is you're seeing just a showcase of talent. Here's the champion of Raw. Here's the champion of SmackDown. And by the end of that pay-per-view, a guy like Sportsbeard would say, well, I was really behind almost everyone on SmackDown. I should start watching SmackDown. And you go, fuck yeah, you should. And then he starts watching SmackDown. And before you know it, he's hooked. And you don't even have to twit begging people to watch your show.
I agree with that to a certain degree. But at the same time, it means fucking nothing. There's no... And maybe because I'm old school and I love factions. Like, factions were great. And factions were the basis of Survivor Series. You had this team versus this team. But make it mean something. If the surviving members of the Raw women's and men or SmackDown, whoever, the surviving members were the put into the lottery, I guess, if you will, for the 30th spot of the Royal Rumble. Like, make it mean something. You know, if there's 5 members, hey, one of these 5 members is going to be the 30th man or woman into the Royal Rumble.
Well, Xavier Woods had that idea on Twitter. If you were on Twitter, you would have seen it.
I love it.
Well, I know. But
he said he wanted the losers to the losing team to be then put into a position of getting numbers 1 through 5 for Rumble, and the winning team to get 25 through 30.
I liked it. Yeah. I had that written down actually as one of the things that we would get to.
But see, first of all, Xavier, quit stepping on our toes because we've talked about this in previous.
Yeah, you've heard it here first.
Probably not episode 1. We probably talked about it around the fire pit, but
probably fire pit.
Yeah, which we should record. But anyways, it just needs to mean something, you know. And who was it? Wasn't it Raw that swept SmackDown that one year? But yet the kickoff show had the tag teams and the New Day won that.
Oh,
and
I think it was SmackDown.
The New Day were.
Oh, but yeah. Raw swept, but SmackDown won the one because of New Day.
Yeah, but they kept saying Raw swept, and then New Day came out with, what was it, 8 or 1 and 8 or 1 and 6, whatever the thing was.
Yeah,
you know, and it's like there should be bragging rights. It's like when Stephanie and Shane were in charge of each brand, like it made sense. There was bragging rights. You know, like Sports Beard said, Adam Pearce is like, oh, I regret this. So now he's basically just shitting on SmackDown.
Yeah.
Because, hey, I want this team to win. Well, okay, but why? You know, if
what's the motivation?
If Sonya was in charge of SmackDown and Pearce was in charge of Raw, it makes sense.
Exactly.
But for him to sit there and say, hey, Dominic, I made a fucking mistake because I need champions and former champions are on this team and blah, blah, blah. Oh, what the fuck? And like I like the little bit of play, you know, like you said, Marsh. The qualifying matches, sure, it's not muddied up. Instead, we get double tag team matches for no fucking reason with RK Bro and the Street Profits and Dirty Dogs and AJ and Omos. That didn't muddy up Raw at all.
Yeah, I feel like it's very directionless right now. It feels like they don't know what they're doing. You know, like it's the same thing. I was like Bianca Belair. They've almost killed her character by letting her lose so many damn times. Like you don't.
But I'm okay with that because she kind of gotten on my nerves lately.
Well, that's fair.
I don't know what it is. Like I was behind. She's almost like the new Drew. She's almost the woman Drew, where I was behind them. And then they just kept talking and doing their thing, and now I'm just kind of like, I'm over it already.
I want to be complimentary of Drew a little bit. I know you guys don't like him. I like him, but they did interview him about Roman Reigns, and he said like he's really good and he's carrying the brand, and he said he's not interested in matching up with him right away. He says it's inevitable, but had a lot of praise for him. I thought. You know, I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, it's all Roman Reigns just carrying the brand and stuff." So, and I get it. You know, like I know he's like the heir apparent or whatever, but I feel
it's because Drew's too busy holding a fluffing open challenge contest every week.
Yeah, I understand. I understand why you wouldn't like it. I enjoyed it a little bit to be like, hey, I'm on. Like, what do you do with a character that's big that you're not going to match up with the Universal title guy? So you let him do some of that stuff, and it just adds to the show. I don't want to be critical of every time they try something a little bit different. Like I'm going to be critical if I don't like it, but like I didn't hate it personally, and I get it. It's like. Because there's no but you know what I'm saying? Like that's part of the problem with this draft is there's no natural, if there's not a natural rivalry that carries over from previous time, then what do you do? Like,
no, I see where you're coming from, but the only good that will come out of this if somebody beats Drew, and once again, Drew would be putting somebody over, and if it happens, great. that should be the course. Ricochet coming out, like, I love Ricochet. Ricochet is a fucking dude. Excuse me. If he would have beat him, great, cool, go. But I just don't think that's the direction they're going.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing I'll say too is it feels like there's no baby faces anymore. I mean, New Day, Big E. I mean, who else? You can't have a whole roster of heels. Like, you just can't. Like, I get it. It's popular to be a heel. I don't know.
It's because it's because of Drew. Because he's supposed to be a face, but he's a heel. Everyone else is, to me, staying in their lane.
Yeah,
and
I feel like it's pretty clear. I think most of them are pretty clear heels and baby faces, to be honest. I mean, from the women's side of things, even if you just look at Raw alone, I mean, Bianca and Liv Morgan are heels. You think Sasha Banks is a tweener?
No. I think after Shotzi turned on her, you're trying to get the sympathy for Sasha.
Yeah.
Now Shotzi's a heel. Great.
Yeah. I think we're going to see Knox show up as a baby face, see how that goes.
I was going to say, we haven't seen Knox since then. Yeah. Since the draft.
Yeah.
And speaking about medical bills, Knox and her 18 leg surgeries.
She's half robot by now. She should be good to go. She's a Terminator. Ooh. Knox, she was in the tag team with Tegan, or with Shotzi and Knox were a tag team.
Yeah, I don't remember that match.
Well, no, this was a couple weeks ago, or a couple months ago.
Yeah.
They won a number one contenders match 3 times and never got their match.
Yeah.
And then they were split up, which the women tag should be on either brand or any brand, even including NXT, and it never is.
Yeah, they need to have women's for both Raw and SmackDown. I agree.
Yeah, they need to sort that out a little bit.
But that's the thing that pisses me off too. With I talked to Marsh the other day about it. With the women's Survivor Series team, is Rhea's on it, but her co-champion is not.
Nikki is not on it.
Yeah, is not on it. And I thought they were going to allude to it when they had that locker room little segment, and they didn't. Be outside of Rhea stepping up, getting in. Who was it? Carmella and Zelina's face, saying, "Hey, that's my tag team partner." Yeah. But outside of that, it to me makes no fucking sense.
I actually noticed it, but when all the women were yelling at each other in there, and they're just really having a powwow, the camera kind of pans back and forth, and Zelina's just sitting there waving the Queen's hand, smiling towards nothing, just smiling in a direction away from everybody, just doing the little hand wave. So funny to me. She's so obnoxious. So
well, see, and that's the thing that pisses me off too is the whole reason why Dom had the match with Bobby. Nikki is a former women's champion, and technically Zelina is not.
Yes.
And Liv's on the team who's not, but she's now got a future title shot, which she'll probably never get.
Yep.
If I know anything about women's wrestling of recent.
Yeah. Was there anything? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I know if you're done talking about the women's stuff, Bray Wyatt's making a movie.
I'm just kidding.
It's supposed to be Itchy the Killer meets Xanadu fans of horror and Wyndham type style.
Yeah, do you have any quotes in there to read? Because I saw the headline where it looked like the Bray Wyatt was going to be showing up in Hollywood before he shows up anywhere else. It looked like I think Jason Baker had made mention of it somewhere.
It's being filmed in Tennessee. That's what I know. And I'll get more information for the next show.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so what do you think about that, Kev? The news is that Bray's going Hollywood.
It's like a horror flick.
Just like Eva Marie, we don't know why they got released.
Yep. And it's just like we speculated.
If that's his passion, we talked about him and Alexa, because we're saying, hey, hold on to Alexa. She's gonna go Hollywood. Bray's going Hollywood. Like, let them. And if their release is to pursue other adventures, cool. Just be happy for them.
Yeah, I think
No more
I'm excited.
negativity.
Go ahead.
And Bray and JoJo have now 2 kids, right?
They have like 3 or 4, dude.
Random.
Like they have so many kids.
Oh, really? A litter?
Yeah.
A whole litter?
Yeah, they're having a litter of kids. Like,
I mean,
he's populating an island.
Follow the fireflies.
I will tell you, just based on watching the YouTube video of kind of retrospective on Bray Wyatt, I'll say I feel kind of disappointed as a kind of re-entering fan that I'm not going to get to see him be like the ultimate evil in the WWE. That could change, but it just I missed it.
But yeah, no, 100%. Like Marsh and I enjoyed the ride, but how great would it be? Because Rob Zombie did his thing with horror movies and stuff like that, and it builds this cult following.
Sure.
But how great would it be if WWE releases Bray, doesn't give a reason, he, becomes an actual face of fear, outside of wrestling, and then comes back.
Yeah, I mean, I like The Rock, John Cena, they're all left. That they'll re-show their faces, I'm sure. So yeah. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. I hope he's successful. I'm not a horror movie fan, so I probably won't ever watch it. But I'll be happy if he's successful with it for him.
But if you're a fan of Bray, in the little time that you saw her, catching up, you didn't watch it for that?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see on what type of movie it is. If it's one that's like to scare the shit out of you, I'm probably not gonna watch it. So if it's different, if it's more like an Army of Darkness type thing, yeah, I'll totally watch it. But so yeah. I did also, I don't know if you guys noticed since we were talking news, Finn Balor might be out with injury. That sucks. Because, I liked what they were doing with him.
Is that the rumor? He's out with injury?
Yeah, they said he could be out. And then, that was the last thing I saw because we already talked about Raw's ratings, blah, blah, blah. So I didn't have anything else.
I mean, I guess it would make sense. But at the same time, I hope it's not a serious injury. I hope it's something he can come back to in a short period of time. But also, he was kind of between stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it also kind of works. Like, as far as there's no good time to get an injury, but there's definitely better times than others. And it feels like it'd be easier to work him back into something now than to have tried to work him out of something before. Have we seen him since he lost to Roman? Once or twice, right?
Oh, yeah. Since he lost to Roman, we've seen him. But I think the last couple of weeks he hasn't been on. I'm sorry. Is he on Raw or SmackDown now? I can't remember.
I think Raw.
Yeah, I thought he got moved to Raw, which I was a little
yeah. Because I remember the little vignettes coming to Raw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a kayfabe injury.
Could
Whoa! Security.
be. Could be.
Yeah, sorry guys.
It happens.
Commander in the Chief is not home today, so she's out.
But how quick would it be to be a kayfabe injury, and he's out for a long time? It's a ruptured, torn, twice removed ACL, and he shows up at Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
It's always a bummer when anybody's hurt, but let's see. Well, I don't think I had anything more to really add on too much of the news stuff. Did you?
No.
Okay. So what I'll do while he's getting the dogs together is I'm just going to shout out real quick Flow State Coffee. Flow Stay Coffee is a specialty grade coffee with L-theanine and Rocket Cow for productivity and creativity. It gives you better energy, focus, and mood than a regular cup of coffee while decreasing the negative side effects like anxiety and blood pressure. And if you go to newwave.co, NOOWAVE.co, and put in promo code CHEERS, then you can get yourself 10% off any ongoing sales or any purchases that you make. If it's a subscription, because they do weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, and bi-monthly subscriptions, you get 10% off the first bag. I suggest just buying 12 bags up front with 10% off. Then you don't go worry about it.
Yeah, go balls deep.
Go balls deep. Balls deep with the coffee.
Could have been a moose, so...
Oh, yeah. And the other thing I want to throw out there real quick, there's two pieces I wanted to say as well. Bob Orton's birthday was today, so cheers and happy birthday to Cowboy Bob Orton. That's Randy
Cheers.
Orton's
Yeah,
father.
right?
Yeah. And the other bit, let me see. I had one other thing, but I want to make sure I don't skip the other thing. Oh, WWE had another announcement. They signed a multi-year partnership with the MOH Museum, which is the Medal of Honor Museum Foundation in Arlington, Texas. They're proud to support the new endeavor that honors United States Armed Forces Medal of Honor recipients. It says visit mohmuseum.org for more information on the grand opening in 2024.
I saw that too. I should have wrote that. That's really cool.
I think it is really cool. And that's what I mean. Like
And great timing with Veterans Day tomorrow.
Absolutely. And we wanted to say, because we won't have Sports Beard on here tomorrow, we do want to say happy Veterans Day to Sports Beard and Producer Lady in advance. Two of our veterans from the show. We always
thank you so
guys.
much.
And
Producer
cheers
Lady.
to you guys.
Yeah. Cheers to you.
I was fortunate to meet, I want to say, one of the guys that served in Vietnam that lived and was awarded 2 Medal of Honors, and I'm trying to remember his name. But to get 1 Medal of Honor is, usually they're awarded after you're dead. So, and a lot more of them got awarded, right? So in the last few decades, but I'm trying to think of the guy's name real quick off the top. I met him. Oh yeah, Roy Benavidez. He was. I don't know if he was awarded 1. He's still kicking, I believe. Nice. But he was I think he ended up being a sergeant major, but he was awarded it. And I met him years ago, active duty. This is all before the wars kicked back off. Really, it was kind of a peacetime. So, but there were a lot of, I think there were 668 recipients. 261 recipients of the Medal of Honor and during the Vietnam War, which they say went from 1955 to 1975. So just 20 years, just a 20-year war. And the Korean War was, they say 1950 to 1953, but that war has technically never ended. So, yeah.
Let's get them. I'm just kidding.
Get them. Go back.
But
yeah.
Cheers to all the veterans out there. Have a great Veterans Day tomorrow, because we're here on Wednesday. And thank you.
Absolutely.
Happy Veterans Day. For sure. Shout out
always
a couple.
Always like to try and celebrate our veterans here, especially. I mean, out of the 5 of us, 2 of them are veterans, so that's pretty fucking good. And then I don't remember about your family, Kev, but I mean, half my family's ended up in the military at one point.
Yeah.
So,
Same here.
So I thought this was really cool, and I love it. But this is also the kind of thing too that I was kind of alluding to before. Beard. WWE does crazy cool stuff like this all the time, and like this tweet through them got 33 likes. You know what I mean? Like nobody's interested in it.
I think I was one of them, actually.
Yeah.
I think I saw
I was one of them. And the show was one of them.
And this is the exact reason why they should not release their Survivor Series rosters on Twitter.
Because there's just not getting enough likes. But that's what I'm
Well,
saying.
here's
Like,
what
this
I
is
would
the
say,
kind of stuff where people see this too, and they say like, "Oh, look at they're just doing this for PR." Are they? Because it got 33 likes. It's not getting a ton of engagement. You know what I mean? Like, it's not.
Well,
That's not
exactly.
the biggest PR move.
Because, yeah, exactly, and that's what I was gonna say is that a lot of things that I've noticed personally from WWE isn't for attention or views or likes. They do it because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times WWE gets shit on for stupid shit, like these releases that no one knows the reasons behind any of them. Some of it's budget cuts, some of it's whatever. But there's a lot that goes unsaid, and people just need to appreciate the positive and quit harking on the negative.
Or even just acknowledge that maybe you don't know. And so
Acknowledge them.
Having these staunch opinions about things that you just don't know about, like the amount of people who are complaining about budget cuts being even a thing and saying, but they're profitable, just clearly don't understand how budgets work within a company, because all that you can have budget cuts and have massive terminations and still be a profitable business. And it's not, the budget cut isn't to make the business survive. But also, if you look at, just to make a outlandish comparison, Ring of Honor got real close to going completely out of business because they were paying everybody their full roster, full pay the whole time, and they couldn't sustain. I'm not saying that WWE's in a realm where they can't sustain. Yeah, now they've released everyone.
Go out of business? Did they not go out of business? I thought they did go out of business.
Well, the rumor is, they said they're going to come back in a few months. Until they don't come back, we don't know.
The company's
they released everyone.
but they have no employees.
Yeah. They have no employees, and they have no back catalog. But real quick, before I talk about that what were you going to say, Kev?
I forgot.
I have something
Beard.
about can I say something about the likes? You got to understand something, Ref Marsh, that likes aren't the metrics they use. And you have to understand too, I'm assuming that the WWE released that on Twitter, probably released it on Instagram, Facebook, all these other platforms. So they look at the views. And the only one that can see those metrics of the views is the WWE themselves and like Twitter. So like Facebook, whatever platform can tell them how many views. So before we completely get sad about only 33 people liking the Medal of Honor thing that they're helping out with, we don't know how many views that got. Plus, Twitter is actually like relatively small compared to even Facebook. Yes. There's 4 times as many people on Facebook as there are Twitter. So that's globally. So yeah, it's not even close, or whatever they're going to call it now, meta or whatever. Yeah. But regardless, Twitter's great. It's a great platform, and I understand, but also realize when a company that size releases something on one social media platform, they're probably releasing it on all of them. To include like LinkedIn and other things like that. So like, I wouldn't get too stressed about, 33 likes on Twitter being like, oh, this is way under, I imagine,
but
no, I'm saying that's a way to literally put a number and a face to the IWC and where the mentality is at. The internet wrestling community will put thousands and thousands of likes on someone saying, like, there's more likes on a comment saying that WWE is shit for something that they did than this. I'm just saying that's the mentality of the internet wrestling community. You know what I mean? They're willing to ignore this, but they're not willing to ignore that Doudrop got a 4-minute match on SmackDown. You know what I mean?
Yeah, real quick, how many likes did Tony Khan get for begging for viewers compared to compared to an actual fucking legit fucking badass thing?
I mean, Sergeant Slaughter just got 12 likes for getting a Dallas Stars jersey. That was 3 minutes ago at the top of my feed too.
Let's see.
Sorry guys, 72 likes now. We're up to 72 likes.
See?
Exactly.
More likes than that. Tony Khan, what was it, 6 hours ago when he did the first one saying, here's every single channel and every single time zone, had 2,200 likes by 6 hours ago. But the one where he said, please watch, is at 7,500 likes, where WWE's partnering with Medal of Honor and they're getting 33 likes on it. And that's what I'm saying is, it's not to say that like it's a failure of an endeavor, they shouldn't be doing it. It's just to say like there's literal ways where you can monitor the negativity of the IWC, and that's one of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well,
There's
just
there's a positive thing here, and no one's behind it. Now, I don't want to say no one's behind it. No one's liking it. And Schwartzbeard, like you said, hey, likes are bullshit, and whatever.
I'm just saying, don't put as much stock. Yeah.
No. But at the same time, there's 33 compared to 7,200. I think you said, Marsh. That's some bullshit right there. Out of begging for, hey, my dad's getting down on me right now, and we're not where we should be. Watch us. And compared to, hey, we did a legit thing for legit people, that's bullshit.
Yeah, I understand that. I think that kind of goes in line with what you guys told me about how the internet wrestling community is thought of, and how maybe why I got banned by Adam Pearce, even though I wouldn't consider myself a
IWC.
Yeah, a member of that thing. But I mean, like, they got 2,000 likes for talking about WrestleMania in Dallas. Like, it seems like a lot of people are. I'm trying to find the tweet about the actual. I thought I saw it for sure.
It's under WWE community. They have a different. They have there's a specific Twitter they have for their charity stuff, and has 120 followers, or 120,000 followers. I apologize, but like.
I was gonna say that's why they got 33 likes. There's only 120 people following them.
Yeah, it's not their main. Yeah, it's not even their main account. Yeah, I just saw it. So here's the other thing. They've probably put this tweet out like every day up into Veterans Day, because they just tweeted in honor of Veterans Day, WWE will 10% proceeds. That was 2 hours ago. It has 3 likes, but I mean, I don't know how many views. I'm assuming they're putting it on their other platforms like.
Oh, WWE's proper account did put out the article about it from WWE.com, which had 320 likes, which is
but that's
really
what I'll tell you too, guys. Like, realize too, like, I see a lot of these Twitter things in like Apple News, and so you can read the tweet and see all the stuff, and unless you go on to Twitter and like that thing, a lot of people read about what's put out on Twitter and news stories and stuff. So they're not even on Twitter, but they can read about what's on there. So I think that needs to be Twitter, Facebook, whatever. I mean, that has to be kind of, it seems like a lot of businesses are getting away from Facebook because of how polarizing it is and yada, yada, yada. But I get it. I mean, like, you would like WWE proper to retweet WWE community's thing about Medal of Honor, and that's probably where the bulk of their likes and views are going to be. Again,
but even WWE proper tweeting that article had 320 likes. And what I'm saying is not that that's the thing that says like, hey, look at everything's going to hell. I'm saying there is a literal way of taking a quick peek at the mentality of the internet wrestling community on whole. When they see something about a big charity thing, they ignore it. They scroll on. They don't look at it. When they see someone say, Vince McMahon, you're a piece of shit. How dare you give the Queen's Crown tournament 10 minutes of TV time? It gets thousands and thousands of interactions. And you just go, wow, they're really stuck on certain aspects. They really want the noise to be about bad things. They never want to support the good stuff.
Statement about society, about anything, really.
Yeah, 100%, because society sucks nowadays.
That's right. Take them down.
100%.
Let me say this last thing about news stuff, and then we'll talk a little bit about some of the aspects of the shows. But I just saw.
I
remember the Ruthless?
Drink. I'll be right back.
There was on the network before it was on Peacock. There was a Ruthless Aggression series that talked about the Ruthless Aggression era and all the things during that time frame, which was really cool for a lot of us who didn't watch during that entire time to kind of get caught up on stuff. Well, TheWrap.com officially, exclusively debuted the news that Ruthless Aggression Season 2 was going to be coming out. It said, which will remind you of a time when not everybody universally loved Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. It was also a time of immense creativity, as some of the neatest new match types since the Royal Rumble were invented. He's talking about like Elimination Chamber and stuff like that. He says it's going to be narrated by SmackDown announcer Pat McAfee, and the 5-episode second season will bear witness to The Rock's acting career crossover. It wasn't always such a popular move. By the time Johnson returned from filming The Rundown and Walking Tall, fans had flipped on the charismatic wrestler. So, yeah, there's going to be another series. It's going to be not narrated by McAfee about that era, and I think it's going to be really fucking cool.
Totally gonna watch it.
I'm gonna watch all of it, man. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I remember not liking The Rock, and I tell people all the time, I love The Rock right now. I did not like him growing up. I didn't like him in the Attitude Era, and I didn't like him after the fact. I've never been a fan of The Rock the wrestler. I've always been a fan of The Rock the dude. Even so much as when he was wrestling and he did the Saturday Night Live hosting, I remember thinking that Saturday Night Live was fantastic and he was amazing in it. I thought, how cool of a dude is this? And the second he was back in that ring, I was like, fuck this dude. Because I always felt like he was a little bit taken care of and a little entitled. And I know that I was a kid and I don't know what goes on backstage, and there's every reason that I can say that my head's up my ass when I say that stuff. But that's how I felt as a kid, that I was like, guys like Mick Foley had it hard. Guys like Rock had it easy. All he had to do was work out in the gym. You know what I mean? And there's obviously so much more to all of it, obviously. Have you watched Young Rock at all?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you like it?
It was fun. It was a fun show. There's a lot of stuff that wasn't historically accurate, but it's fun.
Yeah, I really liked the show. What wasn't historically accurate? We haven't even gotten to the wrestling stuff.
Well, a lot of the wrestling stuff they showed, the Hawaiian.
His grandma got deported for threatening the guy. I think that's all real.
That part's real, but not those guys and not those people. And that guy with the yellow shoes wasn't real. Andre the Giant, I think only went to Hawaii once, and they made it look like he was living there. Like, there's just a lot of little stuff where it's like, oh, that cast of wrestlers would never have been in Hawaii at the same time, especially not for that period, for that amount of time. So
nobody knows that, but like diehards like you, though. And I'll say that when a lot of times when they have characters are multiple characters, because let me give you an example. Black Hawk Down. Do you remember Eric Bana's character in Black Hawk Down? Did you ever see Black Hawk Down?
Yeah. Okay,
so the character from the book Black Hawk Down that was written by the pilot that was rescued, that Eric Bana plays, is actually like 3 different dudes.
Yeah.
So like a lot of times they'll because it now I think there's no excuse for it, right? Because we have long form. So a television show like that maybe doesn't have, like, they could probably drag it out longer. They probably didn't for the reason of it wasn't that relevant to the story. I think ultimately you just needed to see that grandma threatened someone on the island of Hawaii, as far as you're not going to run wrestling. I'm sure Vince and other promoters did way worse way back when wrestling was very regional. And I wanted to tie that kind of into, we were talking about the vaccination thing, but like, I believe New York was kind of WWE's territory before they were the WWE, correct? Like before Vince created the whole thing. So that sort of was their area, because I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Highlander, which is like a mid 80s movie. And they filmed a lot of that in New York City when they actually used to film. And the Fabulous Freebirds are in that movie. They're like the very beginning of the movie. And I don't know who they're wrestling in the thing, but I believe that was the WWE's promotion before WrestleMania, before Vince went to the whole big Hulk Hogan, Mr. T, that thing. So that's interesting. You could see kind of like, I know wrestling was on TV and stuff regionally, like that's what like Stone Cold and those guys, but like we didn't have in Montana where I grew up, there was no regional wrestling. And I grew up in the era before the WWE, because I remember the first WrestleMania. I remember the whole, like I was, seeing Roddy Piper and all those guys, and I remember all that stuff.
WWE,
but Freebirds were Texas.
Right, but they wrestled on, like, number 2, wrestlers would go to all the other promotions. So, like, it's not like the wrestlers there were some wrestlers that were exclusive to a region, right? Like Jerry the King Lawler was Memphis. It was kind of known for that area and stuff like that until WWE. But, like, and there were some big names. Like, I remember seeing Dusty Rhodes, like he was a big name, like, and he was part of that regional, like, wrestling thing before the WWE. Like, anyway, you missed what I was like in what context. Oh, you might have heard me talk about it.
I was hearing it. Yeah.
Yeah, you heard it. So, but yeah, WWE before it was WWE was WWF. Before it was WWF was WWF. But it was always referred to by the people as New York because it was the New York territory, and so people would literally say, "I'm going to go work in New York," and they meant WWF.
And that was the same with like.
It's also one of the reasons why when 9/11 took place, why the WWE specifically felt so personally invested in that attack, and why they went on and to do something live is they were the first congregation of people after 9/11. It took like a couple weeks, but that was one of the reasons they felt so invested in it was because they were identified as New York and they felt tied to New York in that way. So even
this
though
is
their
my
headquarters,
backyard.
Yeah, they're Connecticut, right? I mean, they're all out of Connecticut. That's literally a suburb of New York City, that state.
I got a question for you guys. Some stuff came out about the XFL. It looks like it's going to be starting in like 1 or 2 years. 2023 is when it's going to start. But there was all of their what do you call them? Like their corporate guys, their head guys.
Mm-hmm.
They were before all located in Texas, and the group that they hired is all located in Connecticut.
I think The Rock bought XFL, right? So it's his now. He's running it. So it's not under Vince or
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And The Rock lives in Florida. So why would The Rock be setting up shop in Connecticut when even when Vince had it, he was set up in Texas? Well, he was set up in Connecticut, but The Rock has it owned and he's out of Florida and he's like, let's do it in Connecticut. It makes you wonder, like we talked about before, if Vince is going to have a little bit of a, well, if Vince is going to have a little bit of a pinky in that pie somewhere and selling it to The Rock was a big move to get it going.
This is a kid-friendly show. Don't talk about pinkies in the pies.
Yeah, the poontang pie.
Well, The Rock lives in Florida, by the way. I thought he lived in L.A.
He's got houses in both, I thought.
The Rock lives wherever the fuck The Rock feels like.
Yeah, good point. The Rock might have a house. He could have a house on my lake. I wouldn't even know.
That's a good point. He has as many houses as he wants.
Yeah,
very true. So I'll just say, I know that I don't know if you know who Andrew Luck was. He was an NFL quarterback, but his father was the commissioner of the XFL, and I know he had a lawsuit against them for getting paid and stuff. So I wonder if they bring him back as part of the restitution of that. By all things, before the pandemic occurred, like St. Louis, who lost their NFL team, was doing really well with like there were a lot of fans watching it. And the XFL made the move to do spring football, which I think there was a thing for it. Before, when Vince first started it, he was going to try to go head to head with college and the NFL, and it just wasn't going to work because you just weren't going to have anything on par with it. And I know
he initially went on Mondays. He initially wanted to go on like against the NFL head to head. That was his whole deal. It wasn't Mondays, but I think it was Thursdays.
Well, regardless, it was not a good move.
Well, the NFL wasn't on Thursdays back then.
Yeah.
When the first XFL went.
Yeah. They didn't have Thursday. Hey, by the way, though, the NFL took a lot of stuff the XFL did. The camera on cables. The NFL adopted that like the next year.
They bought a lot. The NFL bought a lot of the XFL stuff.
The XFL reboot, the new one that came back, they had like an Xbox controller and having a little kid or a guy up there reviewing plays and be like, no, ref, you got the call wrong. And like they fixed that. The NFL adopted some of that. They haven't gone to 100% of that. But yeah, the XFL, there's a lot of revolutionary stuff that they did in both iterations that the NFL has adopted.
Well, see, and MLB took a page out of the XFL's book by putting nicknames on their jerseys for one weekend, and I think the NFL needs to do that.
Yeah.
Also, they will.
Also, MLB took a page out of their book by cheating with trash cans. I think that was an XFL thing first.
Well, no.
No?
WWE did it first, but there wasn't cheating. It was legal then.
Oh, it was legal in those matches?
Yeah.
No,
yeah. Sometimes
Real
you
quick,
gotta
I do want to say
bang a
cheers.
trash can and
Yeah. I think the Astros were trying to be the hardcore champions. I think they missed the boat.
Well, stealing signs has always been a part of baseball, but having a guy on second looking at the catcher is one thing that, like, I'll never have a problem with that, or like a
this is a part of the
pitcher,
game.
like a pitcher putting something on the ball, whatever. Like, but then like they developed that spider tack stuff that was basically giving guys like, you know, ridiculous. Like it looked like they were throwing frisbees. So like I get the MLB cracking down on that too, because like the technology's evolved. But like the Astros had to do with like a high definition camera. They decrypted every team they played's signs is not a guy on second. Like, you know, if you look at the numbers, it changes baseball. Like what a pitcher's weapon they have is the ball. They throw the ball the same. And if you throw a changeup or a breaking ball, that's what usually you get the batters out with, is something that's out of the zone, that's slow, or it has a big break. If you know one's coming, you can sit on it. Like they swung at every one of Clayton Kershaw's breaking balls when he pitched against them. There's no way statistically they would ever know unless they cheated. And they never will win another World Series. They lost to Atlanta, who was a heavy underdog. The baseball gods will never allow Atlanta to have anything ever, or excuse me, Houston sports are cursed, by the way.
Yeah.
Like completely
they're
cursed.
legendary cheaters. They're some of the best.
Their basketball team fell apart.
Houston, we have a problem.
Yeah, they're going to have some issues.
Their football team. Oh, man. Ooh.
Yeah, hey, you talk about issues there. Their quarterback had 22 counts of like sexual assault in every one of them massage therapist.
Speaking of pinkies in the pie.
Pinkies in the
Deshaun
pie.
Watson.
Cheers to GR Lunar coming through the chat. He was talking about his life motto. He's talking about my big mug of beer. He also says, don't dive down the rabbit hole, Marsh. Oh, he says there could be a number of reasons why you set up shop in different state. Taxes for one. That could be true that Rocky's even just taking a page out of Vince's book. Just Vince is all like, oh, Connecticut's a good state to have a shop in because of.
Hard to find a state that's more tax favorable than Florida.
Yeah.
But real quick, that I never knew, and it's randomly, and it's kind of off subject.
No.
But when athletes play in different states, they have to pay their taxes. Because it was Andrew McCutcheon left his pay stub in St. Louis, I think it was, and somebody took a picture of it. So every state that he was with the Pirates at the time, every state that he played in, he had to pay their state taxes.
Some of those rules have changed. It used to be, I think that they still do have to pay some tax, but I think it's a different rate. And some of that is they can write off, or a good part of that they can write off.
Yeah, but it's just weird that you would think if you're playing for, in Andrew McCutcheon's case, the Pittsburgh Pirates, you're paying Pennsylvania state tax, and that's it. But it's every state that you play in, you pay a portion to their taxes. Like, I hate to be their tax guy when it's like, did you work in another state? Yeah, I worked in 35 fucking states.
Yeah, I think it's also based on each state's individual tax laws. Cause like that, like if they went to Montana or Alaska or Oregon, for like any state that doesn't have a state income tax, like we don't have a state income tax in Alaska. I think Florida doesn't have a state income tax. There are a lot of states that don't have state income tax now. There's been more and more where they don't have a large state income. Like we don't have a state sales tax or state income tax. Does Arizona have a sales tax? Do they have sales tax?
Oh yeah, our fucking sales tax sucks. We don't have a food tax, but our sales tax, woo, damn near 10%.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, that's high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Splinter Fox coming through too. Cheers to Splinter Fox coming in. Say what's up.
What up? Cheers, Splinter.
Yeah.
And G.
Why were you laughing, Kev? What's Splinter Fox?
He's our resident troll. I'm just kidding.
No.
He's not a troll. He's awesome.
Splinter, yeah, he's a good dude.
Yeah, that's what I like about him. He comes in here because he disagrees with everything we say and hates it. Yeah. And hates everything that we love, and yet he still comes to hang out and have a good time. And that's what makes this the dive bar of the IWC. You can just hang out, have a good bar, shit on everything we love.
Splinter Fox is one of our norms.
Yeah, he's a norm.
So instead of yelling norm, we're like, hey, Splinter.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let's see. I don't think I had anything else on any of that. Yeah. So I just had a few
SmackDown
questions.
opened up with. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, it did have a really cool segment. The SmackDown stuff with the New Day and Bloodline, I loved. I loved even the main event stuff on it. But
Yeah,
a couple things that did you like those ones? Because I know you've been having an issue with the Bloodline.
No, I like that was cool. Like him coming out and Superman punching the crown. He basically he hits the crown too. He doesn't hit his head. Like it's pretty obvious he just hits the crown. Yeah.
But that was on purpose.
Well, I know. I mean, for more reasons than one, but it was good.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that part of SmackDown. Yeah, for sure.
But it was on purpose because it was Jimmy or Jay said, "I'll knock the crown off his head."
Yeah.
Couldn't get the job done. So Roman knocks the crown off his head.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it was cool. I liked it. The matches were good too.
Yeah, there were some great matches on there. Splinter Fox does say, and you hate everything I love, and it works out. He's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. We hate everything he loves. He said, like, fuck the Cards and the Wildcats and the Suns. That's what he said.
Fuck you, Splinter Fox. I'm leaving right now.
That is it. He starts punching his own wall.
And I'm fucking flying out there like Jay and Silent Bob. So you said.
Yeah. What did you guys think about the new look and tone of Shotzi Blackheart?
I like it. I do like it.
Yeah.
I mean, she's got a collar on that says Daddy.
I thought I wrote a couple new intros.
I didn't see that. But that's weird.
It just...
Shout out. It's a shout out to Vince.
Yeah. It just seemed a little weird to me just that, like, we haven't seen too much of her on the main roster. And she was already saying, I'm going to do this without my tank. She had this kind of... like Gretel from Gremlins kind of look with the bright red lipstick and the hair feathered out.
That's something that Gremlins' name was?
I thought it was.
Oh.
You can look it up. Tell me if I'm wrong. Jeremiah, what was the female Gremlin's name in Gremlins 2?
I pulled out my Googler. I'm looking.
All right.
I have no idea. I have no idea. Like I liked those movies, but
Splinter Fox says it's Greta.
Greta, okay.
I was really close. I said Gretel. I was really close.
Was Stripe the bad guy? It's hard to remember even.
Oh, come on. But it just seemed really weird because, I mean, as we're watching it too, producers all like, so she's their new Suicide Girl? And I was like, kinda, I guess. It just seemed like they didn't give the other one a chance. But at the same time, I mean, she's got a history doing burlesque and doing stuff like that. So, and she's been in horror movies and stuff. So it's probably not that far out of her wheelhouse to begin with. I didn't hate it. But it was a little bit, I don't know, it was a little jarring, and there was a little bit there was a moment in there where it felt a little bit like overacting, a little bit like acting, like she felt a little, but maybe I'll get used to it and it'll pan out.
But see, I'm okay with it because most of her main roster run, like, I think this doesn't, it doesn't overshadow her and like, hey, this isn't shit. Like, I'm okay with it. You know, let's see where it goes from here. Open mind. Let's go.
That's also true. I don't know if I was totally bought in with the tank thing anyway, so a pivot's not a bad deal. Go ahead.
Well, and the other thing is she mentioned, hey, I had title opportunities that were taken away from me.
Yeah.
She legitimately said that, and I was like, fuck yeah. Like,
that was cool.
Yeah, any true wrestling fan that's been following her, like, she's had a few opportunities that were granted, they've won, and that's it. And I almost wanted on the flip side on Raw for Nox to do the same fucking thing, but we haven't seen her.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. Spinner Fox does say that you've seen pictures. It's one of her favorite movies. Yeah, I saw something about that too, which also made me wonder if that was part of the reason of the look.
Yeah.
I mean, she made a joke that her first ever action figure came out and pulled out that Gremlins figure. So.
What movie did he say? Pictures?
No, you've seen photos.
Oh, pictures.
That Gremlins was.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Gremlins was one of her favorite movies. I thought you said pictures, like a movie picture. Anyway, that was interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Sports Beer, what did you think about the new Shotzi?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who the old one was. So
All right.
I liked what I saw. It was cool.
All right.
I had notes about new intros, couple new intros. I don't know
There's
if
a few
they're
new intros. Right before we get to that, your boy Drew McIntyre had a match with Ricochet. And I did want to say the timing of that Claymore kick with Ricochet
was awesome. That match was cool, dude.
It was
I don't
chef's
care
kiss,
what
man.
you say. That match was cool, Kev. I loved that match.
Yeah,
That was a
thank
good
you,
match.
Ricochet. Yeah, Ricochet made that amazing.
Ricochet.
But dude, Drew
Let's go.
McIntyre is not terrible in the ring.
No,
he's not terrible, but he should. If he just shut the fuck up and wrestle, he'd be all right.
I like his character. It's okay.
Because you also like Stone Cold, and Stone Cold did his thing, and they refused to say Drew is a fucking heel. Drives me nuts.
Yeah, I get it. I just feel like he's a guy that learned his lesson and is gonna toe the company line, and he's just doing a really good job doing it. I thought that match was awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, Marsh.
Yeah.
Hey, Marsh, do you want to educate Sports Beard on Drew McIntyre's autobiography?
No, I mean I know he got released.
Piece of shit.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Sportsbeard. He wrote a book after being champion for 1 year called The Chosen One or Destiny or something like that. And it was all about how he was a champion and how the greatest moment of his life was becoming the champion. And it was a book about his year as champion, about it being his fucking destiny. He had pictures. We flipped through it. There's not even pictures of his wedding in there. And he's talking about his life story. Like, what a fucking heel move it is to be a champion for 1 year and put out a book about being champion.
But it wasn't even the 1 year mark. It was 1 year after the book was released, meaning this book was in works for months beforehand.
It was probably just a money grab, guys.
Nah.
No,
It's
they
a
weren't
heel
trying to sell
move.
these. It's a heel move.
You don't
It's a
think it
heel
was
move.
just a money grab? Well, okay. Yeah,
No
I don't
one
know.
in the
I mean,
history
I
of the
love-
wrestling business has written a book about being the champion within the first 3 months of being a champion.
Well,
Yeah.
How many foreign-born champions have there been in the WWE? He's got to be one of the first, right?
He was the first
No,
Scottish.
no.
Who had? I mean, like Steve did. Who was the guy that the
Kofi.
Steven back in my day. Steven
Regal?
Austin?
You about Regal?
Steve Regal.
William
Yeah.
Regal.
William Regal.
William.
Don't come here with that shit.
I'm sorry, but he's a British guy. Did he have the title?
What about Don Maraca? Let's go way back.
Well, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat might not have been.
Wasn't he from Hawaii?
Yeah. He was.
Okay. Anyway.
Terrible. Let me pull it up right now. I mean, but you're right. Bruno Sammartino was Italian.
Okay.
Yeah.
So even if you want to go back from before
Andre
they're
was
even
French, Andre the Giant was from
never
France.
technically a champion.
Never
He won it
champion,
and sold it to $1 Million Man. He never actually held on to it.
Oh, what?
What? Welcome to wrestling, my friend.
Yeah, welcome to wrestling, dude. He sold that shit and never counted.
Getting paid.
Yeah. This is WWE champions.
KO is from Canada. Chris
KO
Jericho.
from Canada. Let's see,
Yeah. Oh,
Buddy
is KO
Rogers.
from Canada? I was gonna ask
Yep.
that.
Edge.
Ivan
Bret
Koloff,
Hart.
but he's probably actually American if I'm being honest. Pedro Morales. Let's see. Antonio Inoki held it for a short period of time. Imagine that.
Mhm.
Oh, it's because the NWA and the WWE had a mesh at some point. Iron Sheik. Let's see. Vacated, Savage, Warrior, Sergeant Slaughter. So here's where we get to the area where people start really thinking about it. Flair, Savage, Flair, Bret Hart, Yokozuna, which is he was American. He just was built as Japanese.
But Bret Hart's
Uh,
Canadian.
Bret Hart, Canadian. True.
Yeah, I knew Bret Hart, and so is Roddy Piper, or was.
Roddy Piper was
was
never a
Jericho.
champion.
Never world champ.
Jericho.
Yeah.
Roddy Piper was never
Jericho-
world champ either, huh?
Yeah, Roddy Piper was never world champion.
Jericho had it.
Spinner Fox is
had
losing his
Universal.
mind in the chat right now. He's like, Bret Hart, damn it.
Dude, he said,
Damn.
I knew Bret Hart. Owen Hart and Bret Hart.
Canada. Owen
Yeah,
Hart.
Roddy Piper.
Oh, Bishop says Steamboat's from northern New York than me. So he's from nowhere near New York proper is what that means. So he's like more
Canada.
north than Delaware. So that means
So
he was from Canada. Yeah.
Yeah. Steamboat from Canada. Who would have ever guessed?
Yeah. Who guessed it?
Oh.
Let's see. Triple H, Vince, Big Show, Rock, Kurt Angle. Let's see. Jericho, right? Canada. Hollywood Hogan getting it again in 2002. That's so funny. Undertaker, Rock, Lesnar, Angle, Brock Lesnar, Eddie Guerrero. He's probably from America though. Edge, Canada. Rob Van Dam, New York. Edge, Cena, Orton.
St. Louis.
Dude,
Yeah.
Hardy, Edge, Triple H. Man, Triple H is on here a lot of times. Let's see. Orton, Cena, Randy, Cena. Sheamus, Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Sheamus again. Miz, Punk, Mysterio. Mysterio, he was born in San Diego, right? He just wrestled in Mexico for a
Yeah.
while?
619.
Well, that's what I mean. But, like, I knew he was, like, from there, but I didn't know if he was, like, born there necessarily. I knew he like, trained in Mexico. Alberto Del Rio, I don't know if he was born in Mexico or not, but he was champion.
I thought he was. Yeah.
I thought he was, too. That's what I'm saying. I'll add him, but I'm just not positive on it. Seth, Roman, Sheamus. Man, Sheamus is a couple-time champion, man.
Yeah.
Seth, Dean, AJ, Cena, Wyatt, Orton, Jinder Mahal. So I guess anyway you cut Jinder Mahal.
Hey, Jinder's Canadian.
Yeah, Jinder's Canadian, so.
Billed from India, but he's Canadian.
Kofi Kingston, born in Africa.
Uganda.
Drew McIntyre, Scotland. Bobby Lashley, Big E. So yeah, those are all of them. So yeah, there's a number of them who were, you know.
Not from the U.S. of A.
Yeah, not from the U.S. Let's see. Oh, Spinner Fox says Ray's father was from Mexico, and he said Eddie was from El Paso.
Yeah, Eddie
said,
was from El Paso.
And he's counting Finn for 12 hours as the Universal Champion. I'm not counting him in this one because Drew's never been Universal Champion, and the conversation's about the belt that Drew held.
Well, Finn,
but I hear you.
Finn was Universal Champion, right?
Yeah.
He was the first one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but KO's Universal Champion, never world.
So KO is a
WWE.
Canadian?
Yeah.
So we did have something, and then I gotta go, guys. I gotta feed my dogs and blah blah blah.
Just make sure you don't feed the geese.
You said the geese are gone. The lake froze.
Yeah.
You said I said, oh, you said, oh crap, KO is a heel, and I said means nothing when they cut KO in like 3 months because he's not going to renew his contract. It sounds like.
Who knows?
And you were like, yeah, I'm ready. You're ready for KO versus Big E. And then I said, and then I didn't respond, but he was like, there's no getting out of that match with a clean finish. If you have Big E, then a clean finish would have made the whole
Kev, what did
stop.
you
But I
think
was
about
like,
the main event for Raw?
It sucked.
What do you mean?
No, I'm just kidding. I like it. I go ahead.
No, go. Good. No, go, Kev. You're good.
No, yeah, I liked the match. I liked everything about it. Like, that's about it. Like,
Refresh.
I loved it. I loved it because here's the deal: is it Seth Rollins versus KO and Sprinter Fox? I'm going to get caught up with all your chats, but I will respond to this when he goes KO's heel again. Figures, yep, he's got to be heel again because the champion's babyface. Whatever the champion is, KO's got to be opposite because there's no way KO's not going to be in that championship picture anymore. He'll do other stuff, but he's always going to be near enough and always possible enough.
Yeah, borderline. But I'm just glad that KO's being utilized.
Yes.
Like, the past year on SmackDown, KO has been overlooked. He filled in as commentator when Pat McAfee had COVID and shit like that. KO is a fucking amazing talent. WWE's to get their head out of their ass if they're not willing to re-sign him for the term or whatever.
Use the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and how many times? I mean, he had like 4 segments backstage before he even had his match.
Yeah. He's good, man. I've
been clamoring for some time now. on Pro Wrestling Tees, WWE. You know, there's always Owen fight Owen, blah, blah, blah. I want a Kevin fight Kevin shirt. Damn it. Give it to me. Give me what I want.
Give me what I want. It's for your inner
Give it to
turmoil.
me.
So here's what I thought about it. Because with Seth Rollins versus KO, you know you're going to have an incredible match. And it was fantastic. They had such a good fucking match.
Mm-hmm.
And by having it end in a count out, you left a little on the table so you can still have another match with KO and Seth down the line that could pay out, because people still want to see how that match is going to go. Even though we've seen Kevin Owens and Seth honestly wrestle a good dozen times before over the number of years they've been in the company together, they've always butted heads. Yeah, but this is now, and they're both so good now. Yeah. But without this being a count out or a DQ, there was no way that I could see of getting KO and Big E to this level of a fervor. By Big E accidentally getting in the way of KO and costing KO this match, KO can snap and do what KO does better than anyone, and that's fucking snap. And now you have a story with KO and Big E, and you still have a story with Big E and Seth, but you still have a story with Seth and Big E. Like, it allows for this big triangle.
Yeah, triple threat, if you will. The only thing that gets me is I wanted
Menage a feud.
Big E's. I wanted Big E's interference to be a little more obvious on accident. You know what I mean? He kind of just stood there. Like, I wanted him to almost put his hands out and be like, I have nothing to do here. You know, almost like I'm not hitting him. Or, you know, when they got they got the arms wrapped around him. I'm like, I'm not holding him. You know what I mean? Like, I almost wanted that from Big
E. You felt like he undersold stopping him from getting back in the ring. I get you.
Yeah, he kind of just walked in front of him, and they're like, "Oh my God, Big E got in his way," and I was like, "Did he?"
Well, Big E's been kind of a. And Big E's been a little bit more snarky about shit lately. He's been a little more. Yeah. He's had a little bit of an edge, so I could see him like doing it.
I almost wanted, not me, you know, and his elbow out, like holding him or grabbing his arm, like, I'm not here, type of thing. But the other thing that got me with that was a quick 10 count on the outside.
Yeah, that was fast, I thought.
Yeah,
because I didn't even think that when I was
somebody could have won it and they could have kept it.
Yeah, when I was watching it, I didn't even think that the count out was there until they said, "Hey, the count out's here." Because AEW, WWE likes to bend the rules when it happens. You know, if there's a fight on the outside, let it go. And they're like, "All right, there's 3 seconds, go." You know, that's it.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Whoa."
Yeah, I think that they messed up by not having a proper ending. I disagree. You could continue those stories just fine. I feel if you paid money to be at that show and to have that kind of ending.
But Sports Beard, real quick. So that's not the last match at that show. There's always a dark match.
Yes.
So the go home payoff is whatever. But how would you devise it either way with the outcome being different? Just if there was a clear-cut winner.
Isn't it? It's no different. So what if there was a clear-cut winner, but he like held him down, he had his feet on the ropes, the ref didn't see? I mean, there's a million different things you could do where there's some controversy to the win that's not a stupid count out. Anyway, it felt like they mailed it in. The match was great, but they mailed the ending in to me, I thought.
To me, I think that it's a lot more lazy to have a ref to make the referee look stupid than it is to make the wrestlers look like they cost each other the match. And every one of those matches where someone cheats to win or puts their leg on the rope and the ref doesn't see it, puts the heat on the ref, not on the wrestlers. And this puts the heat on the wrestler. Because anytime someone cheats that outrageously, it's, the ref didn't see it. It's the ref didn't see it, so therefore the ref's an idiot. It's not that the person was clever.
Well, usually the ref is taken out, and the ref. I've never blamed the ref. I mean, I never blamed the ref and left the ref as like one of the heel wrestlers being a ref. But
happens subconsciously.
If the ref gets hit in the face, is it really the ref's fault? I don't think so.
Yes,
but then you have a DQ there too.
Can't fucking count.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the ref's fault. Fucking take it like a man and fucking
Yeah.
Count.
Keep counting. Like I 100% think a count out is more. I mean, it's also you go into the Sami Zayn school of thought. There was a whole period of time where Sami Zayn kept winning matches by count out and saying that it's much more difficult to keep someone out of the ring for 10 seconds than to keep someone down for 3. So funny.
That's the Andy Kaufman school of wrestling.
Yeah, Andy Kaufman school of thought.
100%.
But yeah, I think that it's easy. It's easier to put the heat on the ref, yeah, and say, but you have a clean win. My problem is those definitive victories with a smudge finish or a bullshit finish is you end up with like AEW with all of these disqualifying counters that never disqualify, and it undermines the wins after a while.
Mm-hmm. Especially when this is a disqualification, but this isn't. And it's the same fucking thing.
Yeah.
And
this time they're disqualified, this time they're not.
Yeah. And to me, with this, it doesn't make anyone less than the other competitor.
Yeah.
To me right now, Seth and KO are on the same playing field.
Yes.
And, let's go with it. Let's see where it leads. If one got the clear-cut win over the other, I think undermines the storyline.
Yeah.
Because, don't get me wrong, I don't know where they're going with it.
I get it. I think it's you guys want to convince me to see it that way, and I'll just tell you, I don't think it matters. For me, it wouldn't have made a difference. But obviously for you guys, if one of those two would have won, it would have made a difference for you. So you
would have
like
ended the
how they
feud.
did it, and I get it.
Yeah, because there's an ending. There's a clear-cut ending to the storyline.
There's
without
okay.
Without the finish, there's not a clear-cut ending yet.
Well, you could just make the finish controversial, like I said.
But most controversial finishes, they did.
But they did. They did.
Yeah, they did, but they did it in a way that put the heat on Big E. And then KO fed off that heat and got heat on himself. Where if you do a controversial finish with a quote clean win that has a controversial finish, the heat ends up on the referee.
What if Big E was
and like I said, well, exactly. But that's why I wanted Big E to be more involved in the finish, where he has his hands out and he's not holding KO back, but yet he's holding KO back, and KO couldn't get in.
So you're
like I said, that was a quick finish. It, like I said, like the middle school rule. Like,
right. So, but you're saying that you would have rather, like, let's say Kevin Owens pins Seth Rollins, Seth gets his foot on the rope, and Big E pushes Seth Rollins' foot off the rope. Something like that. That, again, makes the ref look more stupid than the wrestler clever.
Mm-hmm.
This puts 100% of the heat. And you might say that you don't blame the ref for not seeing stuff, but a lot of people do, and a lot of people are watching refs, and I watch the ref all the time. And subconsciously, there's a part of you goes where if your first instinct is, oh, the ref didn't see it, that immediately means your first thought is on the ref, your heat is immediately on the ref. Now, you can then say he shouldn't have cheated, the ref didn't get a chance to see it, but part of that heat goes to the ref either way. And this was a way to do it where none of the heat's on the ref, 100% is on Big E and KO, which is what you want. You want people going like, fuck. And that interaction there, the fucking craziness with KO had me ready to see the two of them in a match.
Take them.
Okay, I gotta go. I'm sorry. I gotta go. My dogs are looking at me like, you better fucking feed me like 30 minutes ago. So I'm so sorry. I gotta go.
All right. Let's see in the chat real quick.
Well, cheers. Tia Sports Beard. Cheers.
Yeah, cheers to you. Happy Veterans Day.
Yeah, thank you guys. Sorry I gotta leave early.
It happens.
Yeah, I thought I'd hear from the wife by then. So again, sorry. Apologies.
We don't care.
I'll make it up.
Go watch. We're good.
Spinner Fox says that they have to do something until the GOAT of WWE comes back. SmackDown needs Bailey 100%. Yep.
About that.
Yep. She's got to come back.
Let's see. Wait, real quick. With all the recent cuts and whatnot, WWE's trying to get under women under 25 years of age. When is Charlotte getting cut? God damn it.
Dude,
Sick of this shit.
I would not have. It would not have hurt my feelings. But
Not at all.
let me see here. What was I looking at? He says it's not really. She dressed like on social media, talking about Shotzi dressing that way on social media, which is true. Which is why I said I don't think it's exactly out of her wheelhouse to be doing that stuff. I was a little surprised it happened quickly though. He thinks Ospreay is better than Ricochet. That's one of those like ridiculous statements you can't even really justify with an answer. You go, you must be watching something different than everybody else in the world.
Yeah, because you're clearly stupid. That's it.
I don't know if I call him stupid, but I've never seen a
Stupid.
I've seen a bunch of Ospreay matches and always thought it looked just like dance. We're watching Ricochet. I'm always amazed at how natural he makes things look. Ospreay looks so forced every time and so hyper choreographed that it's like not even close. It's like such a strange comparison to make it to me at this point. Spinnerfox says, talking about the Drew book, was it pictures? Did it come with crayons to color the pictures? Dude, Drew's book would have been better if it had crayons, to be honest.
Yeah, it would have been entertaining at least.
Yeah. Spinnerfox says something here about KO, which I think doesn't make a ton of sense, but you tell me if it makes sense to you. He says they always do this. They, quote, push a guy or gal to make them resign. I would rather see KO just retire and not go anywhere else. I don't think he wants to make another change this late in his career. Just like Sammy, just retire and ride off into the sunset, which I think AJ will too next year. Contract is coming to an end. I think AJ has said he wants to end his career in WWE and he signed his last contract, so I think that's true. AJ will retire like that. But I don't see anything about this at all being a sign of them trying to push Kevin Owens out or Sammy. But I will agree that I don't necessarily want to see them anywhere else because what they're doing here is so good. I don't want to see them made a joke of by going somewhere else and being part of a big comedy act when their comedy is so good in and of itself, you know?
Yeah. How terrible it would be to see.
Oh, he said re-sign. Oh, he put it as one word, so I thought it was resign. Okay, so they're pushing him to re-sign.
Stupid.
Oh my God, those are two different words. Yes. So yeah, sometimes they do that towards the end of someone's contract. They'll give them a big push. So they'll be like, "Oh, look, we know how to use you." So I don't know. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Yeah. But I do think AJ will end his career here. I get the feeling though, Sammy and KO are just too big of friends with the elite guys that they're gonna go there.
And how terrible would that be? Because
it's a bummer. And then Spinner Fox says WWE recycles rivalries every 3 months or every 3 weeks anyways. I don't know what he's talking about. I don't see Heat. I mean, you don't even watch it. How do you know that? Let's see. I don't see Heat to the ref. I see somebody didn't want to get beat clean. That is the Cena rule. No, there's an actual. Well, it's because you watch stuff where refs don't even matter. They don't count, so it doesn't matter. That's what I mean.
No, they want the storyline to continue. And if you end it here, it cuts off a certain aspect. And if you have a schmoz finish like this, you can continue it to a certain degree.
Yeah. And the reason you don't see heat on the ref is because you haven't watched a promotion where a ref had any sort of credibility whatsoever. They've beaten out of you that refs make a difference.
Because the AEW
training. Yeah.
They're
you can 100% end up with heat on the ref. I mean, Jimmy Corderas talked about it a number of times, the heat on the ref. Kyoto's talked about that in a number of his interviews as well, that there are ways you get, I mean, even Pritchard's talked about it. There's ways you do stuff where the heat ends up on the ref, and there's a way where you do stuff where the heat ends up on the wrestler. And that's one of those things. Yeah, if you have someone cheat to win in a way that's just obvious to everyone but the ref, and the first thing the announcer says is, the ref didn't see it, that's subconsciously telling you it's the ref's fault, no one else's.
Yeah.
You know, so that's heat on the ref. You're just not used to refs having credibility.
Yeah.
Let's see. He goes,
you're also
wait, you're
not
saying
used to good wrestling.
Yeah. Husband Fox says, wait, you're saying Bayley's going to get cut? No way. Bayley's going to be like the next Triple H. She'll be there forever. He said Cards fans are stupid. That's hard to argue. Says you haven't even
bullshit, baby. 8-1, baby.
Says you haven't even seen the new Ospreay. I watched him wrestle last year. How much newer has he gotten? I watched him wrestle a match after he was big, and I was like, ugh. Let's see. Takes likes your shirt. Bishop says dope shirt, Kev. For a second, I thought it
Thank
said
you.
dope shit, and I was like, what? What is he seeing?
Both.
Spin Fox says, I'm tired of people jumping ship and taking spots from other people, like D-Bag Brian. F that dude. I mean, I can't argue with you on there. That's been one of my issues, too. I mean, even so, like, realistically, Spinner Fox, even if they put the title on Hangman Page right now, because of all these other dudes jumping ship and taking spotlight, it's going to undermine even if Hangman was champion. He'll just be the champion that's not as big a star as their other guys like Daniel Bryan and CM Punk and all those other guys. You know what I mean? Like,
Hangman.
it's frustrating because
Hangman should have been the first champ.
He should have been the first champion. He should have been champ by now. And the problem is they've been slow playing it the way they are, so they can try to force feed us that it's long-term storytelling. And what they did is they missed the mark. And now you've got so much bigger star power because they've underbooked Hangman that if he wins at Full Gear, it won't mean as much as it could have meant 6 months ago or 7 months ago. And that bums me out because Hangman Page was our dude. 2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah,
could have been a huge moment, and now it's going to be like, oh, and I guess also they have this dude as their champion, but I only watch for Daniel Bryan and CM Punk. You know what I mean? I don't want that conversation.
Yeah, but exactly, and it's not about time he overcame the odds, like he finally did it. It feels like they missed the mark, and excuse me, when I was watching AEW, I was like, Hangman's good, like go with that. And they didn't, and they didn't, and they didn't. And I'm not saying WWE is great on every, aspect of the word, but I just feel like AEW missed the mark on Hangman, and they killed the character almost.
Yeah, they put him through so much terrible booking. To be honest, by now I would hope that the AEW title picture would look like Hangman Page versus Scorpio Sky. That's what I would want to see by now, but it's not. We're still getting to Page and Omega, and at this point, it's a little too late. Like in my mind, which kind of was a bummer. But I mean, to
me, Hangman Page is the Johnny Gargano of AEW.
Just resident loser.
It should have happened. Yeah, it should have happened years ago. You give him some, bullshit booking, he kills it, and he's never won the big one.
He says,
like, how many times you have to root for the loser to feel like you have to jump ship finally?
Spin Fox does say, I'm just talking out of my ass because I don't watch WWE, which is funny. He said something about the cards, and it's got to be about the credibility or something. Fabteen asked where'd Beard go. He had to go feed his dogs, whatever that means. Spin Fox says, who have the beat cards fans, boy? I mean, the cards could probably write a sentence. It says, choking the playoffs cards. Bishop does say, imagine if Hangman was champion and beat Daniel Bryan in a title match for Daniel Bryan's debut. How strong would Hangman look? Which is true. If he was already champion, that would be one thing. Now, if he becomes champion and ends up anywhere near Daniel Bryan or CM Punk, he's going to look completely out of place. Spinner Fox says, Dynamite was good. OG AEW wrestling dudes mostly wrestled. Lee Tiger Style versus Top Flight. Neither of those are OG. Especially not Lee Tiger Style. He just signed a month ago. But I hear you. It is much more the AEW. What we wanted from AEW coming in was guys like that for sure. Jungle Boy versus the Acclaimed. And he goes, but then fucking Daniel Bryan had to wrestle. F that dude. Brady will whip that ass in the playoffs. Brady whips everyone's ass in the playoffs. That's what he does, man. That's his job.
He ain't beating the Cardinals this year, baby.
I don't know. He's really good at his job, Kev.
No, he's the GOAT for a reason. He has more championships than any franchise, except for this year. Cardinals will get there first. Kyler Murray's the man.
Yeah. He's got more championships than MJF's mom has teeth.
That's not saying a lot.
I know.
Two's more than one. I've never seen MJF's mom.
I don't know anything about his mom, but I don't like that guy.
I'm talking out of my ass.
Yeah. I just thought who better to give a shitty joke shit talk line than MJF, the king of terrible shit talk. So, but yeah, I mean, it's a good point. If Hangman Page was the champ and was holding off guys like Mox and guys like Daniel Bryan and guys like Punk, it would be like, look at this is what we're saying is that our generation is the new generation. Our guys are the best. But it really comes off pandering and weird. Yeah.
You know, if MJF was beating all of WWE's old talent and,
Just
know,
beating them all
of the
off.
elite, beat them off.
Just beat them all off. It would be badass. But he's not.
Look into the guys and beat them off.
Let's see. And Spinner Fox does say, he makes them cards look like a Tweety bird. And then he does say Hangman has to win and beat off all the WWE guys. It's got to happen. But even at this point, it wouldn't even happen. Like, I mean, even if it happened, it wouldn't make sense anymore. And Bishop says now Hangman has to prove he is as good as. I mean, he's out of place. He's out of place really quick. And he goes, prove that he's better, as good as, and not better than. And that's, I don't know. Either way, we'll probably talk more about it tomorrow night on episode 1.
If Hangman wins and he's finally the champion, if this was the Usos penitentiary, Roman would walk up to Hangman and say, "Hold my pocket."
Yeah, hold it. Let's see. Spin Fox says, with Mox out, they said the story has changed. I wonder what has in mind. Me too, just from the idea that Mox has been out of the story for months now. He's been in mid-card preliminary story with Eddie Kingston as a goofy tag team that didn't really matter. So I can't imagine he had any impact on the world title or anything like that. Just because it felt like he didn't want to be part of the main picture anymore. We talked about it before. Like, it's not even a knock on the guy. It just seemed like he wanted to do what he wanted to do. And that was wrestle tag team matches with his friend and Japanese guys from time to time. It didn't feel like he was anywhere near the world title scene, so I can't imagine what the plans were that we're going to get him back to it, because he's just been kind of on his own thing for a while, which, like I said, isn't a knock. It just felt a lot like he did the run and said, okay, I did that thing now. Now I want to step down and let the story fill out the other way and do something else. So I would be curious to know what that original plan was too, because it doesn't feel like it would fit in a way. Kev, the big thing I want to talk about in Raw, and you can tell me if there's anything else you want to talk about on Raw, but the women's 5-way match, Carmella, Bianca, Rhea, Zelina, and Liv Morgan, all in a match to find a number 1 contender. Doudrop came out and attacked Belair at one point. Becky Lynch was on commentary at one point, the whole match. It was fucking dope, dude. I loved all of this. I thought it was really well done. And I kept going back and forth trying to figure out who was going to win. I felt like a lot of people could have taken it and it ended up being Liv.
I would have put my DraftKings bet on Liv from the get-go. Like, the Hamburglar, what's her name?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
She dressed like the Hamburglar this week.
No idea what you're talking about.
The EST.
Bianca?
Yeah, there you go. She's dressed like the Hamburglar.
Not really.
She looked like a
hamburger. What stripes look like.
100 black and white hamburger. But anyways.
That dude wore a hat.
And? But anyways, Bianca, to me, was like destined to be with Doudrop. Like, the storyline was there. It's fine. Everything made sense. I think Raw is solidifying their women's mid-card. And like I said, for the past couple weeks, Bianca's been getting on my nerves. You know, the way she talks, the way that she delivers her promos. I'm like, I'm done just... not necessarily, I'm not going to jump to conclusions and say, hey, I need a rebrand, but, you know, something different. I don't need to be this force-fed this. And everything else just, to me, pointed to Liv winning the whole time. Liv and Becky had their kind of thing, and I'm like, all right, it makes sense. The whole time Becky's out there, she's sitting there saying, Liv ain't shit. Liv has never won. These women have won. She sucks. She sucks. She sucks. Liv wins. It's what the crowd wanted, and I'm interested to see where it goes from here.
Yeah.
And Doudrop versus Bianca, fuck yeah, SmackDown has done it several times. Let's get a women's mid card. I'm not saying that Bianca deserves to be in the mid card, but if she's the start of the mid card, it says something.
Yeah. And I do think the fans are going to stay behind her for a long time. I think you've done a really good job with Bianca, honestly. Like, I think even though you might feel a little bit tired of her, she's not just staying in title match after title match after title match like a Drew. You know what I mean? Because Drew's whole thing was like, no matter what the match was, it had to be about the title. And Bianca's floating around with stuff and trying to get back into the title picture. And I think she's going to remain that way.
With Drew, it's still, even with the open challenge, it still feels that.
Yes.
I'm just filling this void until I get my shot.
Yeah.
Bianca feels like there's a struggle there. There's back and forth, whatever. But with Doudrop getting involved, I wasn't totally shocked. But it sets up a mid card that the women's division needs in Raw.
Yeah.
SmackDown
100%.
has it. Like, all right, cool. Let's go from here. And in if we look back in 10 years and was like, yo, Bianca kind of set up the mid card for the women's division in Raw, like, great. We'd be singing her praises right now.
Yeah. 100%.
Or in 10 years.
Yeah. My only thing with Liv, the reason I thought it probably would go to her, I felt like the match was done well enough to where you started thinking, well, there's no reason why they couldn't go with this person. You know what I mean? Everyone in there was believably close to winning. You know what I mean?
Yes. But as much shit as Becky talked about Liv and Liv only, like, to me, that was clear cut. Like, all right, Liv's winning. Becky's sitting there shitting on her. And if she didn't win, I'd be like, wow, they're booking for something down the line, but I didn't think it was going to go that far.
Yeah. Dude, when they had the face off on top of the table and Liv looks at her and then just can't help herself from chuckling and then trying to look serious and then smiling, and you can kind of see her like herky jerky, like kind of laughing because she's kind of can't believe what's going on. In that moment, I was all like, oh, she's like a real Harley Quinn. Like, Alexa used to dress like Harley Quinn, but Liv is Harley Quinn. Like, it was pretty. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was a really cool moment of like, she looks a little bit crazy. You know what I mean?
But 100%. But I don't think it was done on purpose.
No, not at all. That's what I mean. I was like, she's like a real Harley Quinn. She can really delve into the craziness. Imagine if she turns that up.
Yeah, no, 100%. And they should pursue it more. But it, like I said, it wasn't on purpose. It was like, cool, I got my moment, sweet. I shouldn't be smiling. I'm smiling right now because I'm happy. But I think they could jump into it a little more.
Producer lady here. That would actually.
Good morning.
Okay. No. Not having any of that.
Yes. Good morning.
No.
Welcome.
No. So that would totally fall in line with our prediction that we had like 2 years ago about Bray having someone in the funhouse. We thought it was going to be Liv all Harley Quinned out. Yeah, we totally said this.
Yeah, you heard it here first, 100%.
Okay, I guess you don't remember, Kev, because you got this confused look on your face.
I was just wondering where it's coming from. That's all.
No, that's what we're saying, is that like she's kind of like really living out this Harley Quinn thing where we said a couple years ago when Firefly Funhouse first started, how great would it be to introduce Liv into the Firefly Funhouse and get her all like Joker / Harley Quinned out. And Now she's playing it off in such a way that you just go, oh, she's just an actual Harley Quinn. It's not even like it's going to be turned up. I hope they do turn it up and go nuts with it, but obviously not in the Firefly Funhouse concept.
Just saying, you heard it here first. It was your long-term booking.
Yep. And something else. Bishop posted something about that we talked about first. Oh, it was just Bray Wyatt going to Hollywood. And we talked about that straight away, too. Anything else going on at all, Kev?
Nope. I think we're good.
We did? Okay. Was there any other birthdays you want to throw? Oh, I didn't talk about Peyton Royce's birthday. It was her birthday, too, so cheers, I guess. No, but, whatever. She's out there. She's Cassie Lee, I don't know, Impact or something. Whatever, I don't watch her anymore. All right. Anything else? Anything that we missed?
I don't think so.
All right, cool. All right. Well, then in that case, we will see you guys tomorrow night for a brand new episode 1 where me, Amanda Jane, and Crybaby Clump are going to break down AEW and NXT. AEW on their go-home show, which Tony Khan begged people to watch. So we are going to see if it was worth it all. It sounded an awful lot from Splinter Fox like it was just an old school Dynamite looking show. I know he said it in a positive way, but what I heard was same old, same old. So we will see if it was worth begging for viewership. We're going to talk about that tomorrow night, right here on episode 1 of the Dive Bar of the IWC. Guys, I'm at Ref Marsh. We are at WOTR, the show. With me today is at Kevlar on the Rocks. And if you were here earlier, you saw at Beard_sports. As we break down and have a drink, we will be back tomorrow night, right here in the Dive Bar of the IWC for a brand new episode 1. Guys, that's last call.
Cheers.
Hey, producer lady here. Thanks for tuning in. Continue to support us or buy us a drink by following and putting the I in subscribe on Twitch. Or subscribe and review our podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to us. Cheers!
I would never have a drink with wrestling on the rocks.